Hello and welcome back to the M30M Tavern. Today is kind of a different stream because I have so many ongoing projects, so I'm kind of gonna, similar to a silent stream, but I will actually be chatting with y'all the whole time. But especially this stream, feel free to talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to kind of like put my head down, and we got a lot of good work to get done today. Also cool is I got a new patron and new priority ticket. So Kyle Homer joined and has a really, really beautiful piece of art they commissioned for their character. And I'm pretty much going to just follow that. So instead of having like lore polls and stuff like that, all those questions have been answered. So instead of designing it together, we're going to just kick back, get a nice cozy drink, and just hang out. So for our first Doors Open warm-up project here, we have Odin. I'm just going to get him to the point where he is posed ready for Character Creator 4, and then we're going to boot him and start on this new project. I'm really excited about it. Hey guys, and welcome. Thanks for all coming in. I see Hindsight, Wolf, Mini Blaze, and then Wendelier. I appreciate the Yu-Gi-Oh reference immensely. All right. Before we get too much farther, though, I do have an exciting thing to show you guys, which is it's Monday, which means that it's M3DM Monday. So two things. One, I have a new freebie STL of the day, which is this really, really cute hummingbird bard. So if you head over to my Patreon, this is free to download, including the pre-support STL. I also have some social goals here, so if you like the post, once we hit 50, we're already halfway there. I do another freebie, so there'll be 2 on it one day. And then same with free patrons that are joining the community. I currently have over 3,000 people that are following my community for free, which is incredible. We're at 3,076. Once we get to 3,100, then another freebie. So as many as 3 freebies in one day, we'll see. But at the very least, I release 1 every single day. Reaper's here, hello, hello, and Rob. And then more excitingly, we have our release today. So let's check that out. All right, this is a pretty big release. There's 6 models. This is all went out today. So this is live right now for y'all to download on Patreon. And I'm excited to show this off to you. So we have the Hodag, and I really went nuts with the base, and it was super worth it. I have the actual print with me right here, which is this picture. This is what that's a picture of. So you can kind of see how big it is versus how detailed it came out, which I'm pretty happy with. Other than the Hodag Cryptid, who came out super charmy and spitty, we have the Coin Sword. This is for legendary patrons only. There's that print, which came out a lot sturdier, as sturdy as I'd hoped. I made this little cloud thing behind it to make it more sturdy. The Eldritch Foxfolk kind of stole my heart. At first, I was like, I don't understand this design. And by the time that I was done with it, I was pretty thrilled. And it's a really, really cool silhouette when it's printed, too. I'm not sure which pose I like more. And then, of course, Thor. We have our action pose, printed fantastic. So again, that many is off screen for me right now. Cool. Right here. I got all of them printed right here. So that's this guy. It's that small and it still looks that incredibly detailed. I am just thrilled with it. And then here is that other pose. Also printed fantastic. So yeah, just a recap. This is all available on Patreon right now. And the best part is, if you're kind of having cold feet about joining my Patreon, I have a new tier that's only $3 a month. It's pretty hard to get a better deal than that. For $3 a month, you also get, I think you get a dozen models in addition to the daily freebies. And if you're still having cold feet about that, there's a 7-day free trial. There's really never been a cheaper or a better way to get your feet wet. So let me go ahead and drop that link in the chat. So yes, the cheapest tier is now $3 for common peasants. You're not a rare legendary yet, but you're still an official peasant of my Patreon. And if that's still not enticing enough, there's a 7-day free trial. So get in there, be part of it. I'd love to have you there. Alrighty. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get Odin pose ready. I'm excited. The spear won't be finished until after I have him pose, so don't worry about that for right now. We're actually going to put a nice little stamp up here. We'll have Odin watching himself as he is getting finished up for posing. And now let's start with all that lovely prep for Character Creator 4. In order to have it ready for Character Creator 4, there's a few different parameters you have to have. First off, you have to have left and rights. So if I have, for example, like these 2 sleeves will need to be separate objects. Otherwise they bind really weird. And the other big thing is that it must be less than 300,000 polys. So that's kind of the gist here. I'm going to go subtool by subtool and make sure that both of those parameters are met. Like always, if you guys have any questions about the process, what's going on, let me know. Original Taylor is here. Welcome. Looks nice, Mia. Thank you. It's coming together nicely. Some of the personality is starting to show through. I'm going to hide the ravens for right now, too. These are Odin's ravens, Hunin and Munin, which is, in English, that's thought and memory, which I thought was really cool. All right, as far as fine details go for this, I have some nice fabric folds here, but I haven't decided on what sort of runic patterning that I would like to add. I do know I want the fabric folds to be a bit stronger and more clear than this. They're a little mumbly, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some stronger fabric folds here using my standard brush and enabling lazy mouse. I want these to be thinner and striking a more confident shape. Kind of taking my time as I strike these in to make sure that they are pulling from the right point, which is the top of the arm. They're being pulled down by gravity, so I want to make sure I'm reflecting that in these fabric folds. There is an element of randomness to fabric folds, but they don't act from nothing. As far as any detailed patterning, I think I'm going to save that until it's posed because I'm not certain how much of that's going to be visible once the pose is complete. And by runic patterning, pretty much just think of like really fancy stitches. That's what I mean. That's a bit nicer. Ooh, I forgot about this cape that I want to make for him. Big fan of capes. Who doesn't like a fancy cape to finish off their mini? All right, so this cape doesn't actually exist. It is just a preview. If I turn off double, you'll see that it's actually completely hollow. So let's make this a real thing. We did not finish the spear. Good question, hindsight. That's not going to get done until after it is posed. Currently, it doesn't even have the holes etched in it right now. It is just kind of thrown together. But again, I'm not going to worry about that until after the pose is complete. All right. I went through with dynamic to add some thickness to this dynamically all the way around, which means that it's uniform. And now I'm going to come in with my Z modeler brush and add some nice trim. I'm going to insert an edge loop and then extrude. All right, I think we have a nice flow going in the stream already. I would love to know how your guys' weekend went. I had a fantastic weekend. I actually streamed on both days, which is unusual for me. It was really fun. They were full-length streams, but that's the only work that I did that day. Had a stream, and then I spent the rest of the day outside barbecuing with my husband. I actually rode my horse yesterday too, which is nice because it rained a ton today, so that's probably not going to happen today. Glad I got some riding in while the weather was still really nice. All right. Got that basic cape form shaped out, and now I'm going to bulk up those fabric folds so they're not so, as I like to say, mumbly. Oh, another thing I want to share with you guys is this March has been historic for new students for me. I think I have 3 brand new students, which is huge. I usually get maybe like 1 a month, but I've had 3 just in the last 2 weeks, which has been a lot of fun. They're all at different levels. One of them is pretty close to going full-time is what I'm suspecting. I have my official meeting with them tomorrow. For students that are a bit more advanced, I usually don't just give them typical assignments. We actually do weekly phone calls instead through Discord. So I'm really excited to meet with them tomorrow and get some more details on their business and see what I can do to help them out. I'm very, very confident I can help them out. I'm just excited to see what plans we end up implementing together. It's really fun for me as my mentorship program grows because, of course, I get more and more diverse students. Essentially, they're different skill sets. which for me really keeps things fresh. I love teaching the beginning basics, but it's really fun for me when I get more advanced students because they ask questions that kind of make me go, I'm not sure. And I'll look into that and get back to you. For beginner students, that rarely ever happens because I'm like, yep, this is a brush. Yep, this is ZBrush. No, you cannot work with 50 million points. Please work at a low resolution. Please stop doing that. Which is fun. I say it in like this joking, exasperated way, but I really do enjoy it. That's what's been going on with me as far as the business front though, and a little bit of my personal stuff. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I know quite a few of you also hung out with me during my streams on the weekend, so I know that what you guys were up to. There we go. Looking pretty darn nice. I do say so myself. Oh, Forge of Many Things is here. I was just talking about you. Really excited for a meeting tomorrow. I didn't even know you were here. That's perfect. So yes, the Forge of Many Things. Matt is one of my newest students. I'm really excited. Our first call is tomorrow. Mini Blaze asks, Mia, so you do the cutting part and on the raised portion you bring them out a bit. I'm not certain what you mean about the cutting part. I'm really not sure what you're talking about. And then no, we're not doing a fur collar on this one because Thor has a fur collar and it's gonna make him look a little too samey in my opinion. Yeah, it's gonna print nice. RV Gaming is here. Hello, welcome back. All right. This is coming along pretty nice. I don't really have any tertiary details here, but that's fine. Again, you really don't want to commit to a bunch of fine detail decisions until you have decided what your pose is going to be. The pose is such an important part of your model, and everything you do every design choice you make should be making the model better, right? You don't want to waste your time, because at the end of the day, time is money. So that's why I don't bother trying to finagle all these tiny little micro details until I'm confident they'll be easily readable when posed. All right, I'm really happy with this cape, and I'm gonna go ahead and decimate this down pretty far because if I need the different subdiv for a smoother bend later after I break my symmetry here, I can just reconstruct subdiv later. I'm not too worried about that. Fortes, I dropped in at the perfect time. Yeah, no kidding. Speaking of, especially since you're officially a student of mine, I'm always very partial to my students when they're in the chat. If you have any questions about how I'm constructing things, please let me know. You really have a good feel for ZBrush and creation already, as you've mentioned, but just in case you see something, you're like, oh, that was a cool technique, let me know. I'd be happy to do a little demo. Mini Blaze says, when you push in the detail, you have a raised area and what looks pushed in. Can you take a screenshot and then put it in Discord and circle what you're talking about? Because there's detail all over the model. I want to do my best to answer your question, but I truly do not know what you're talking about. All right, now that this is decimated, we're going to go ahead and keep working through this, get it prepped for Character Creator 4. Long sleeves are kind of a hit and miss. Sometimes they're more trouble than they're worth, especially when they're droopy like this for posing, but I can't help it. I love a dramatic long sleeve. I don't hate the bare arm, just one. All right. And then as I come through here, I'm also taking the time to rename my subtools. If you just have everything named extract 1, 2, 3, 4, it gives Character Creator a small heart attack. And honestly, ZBrush too, you're just asking for problems. Take time to name your stuff. You'll thank yourself later. All right, we're gonna detail his little mustache here to look nicer. When something this small, it doesn't mean you should overlook it, but it also means you need to keep that in mind. So don't spend too much time on it, but still show it a little bit of love. There's two ways I like to detail small pieces like this. One, by using the rake brush, making sure you backface mask enabled. And and also lazy mouse. It's a pretty intense brush. It defaults to an intensity of 100, so just keep that in mind. I can see if I can do one really strong rake. So like that, it already reads pretty darn good from a distance. If you want to be a little more thoughtful and intentional with it, you can bring up Lightbox, and there is a nice little hidden brush in here called Slash that I think works really, really nicely. I use this all the time when I'm designing my different hair chunks and whatnot. ZBrush is having a heart attack because I hit Control D instead of Control Z, so it subdivided to 18 million points. Calm. Do not do that, ZBrush. Cool. It stopped. There we go. So the slash brush is really cool. The only catch is you kind of need to have a fairly high amount of resolution for it to work nicely. So just keep that in mind. And it's also directional. So I go left to right. You can see the way that the deeper curve's on the bottom. I go right to left. Now it's flipped and that deeper curve is on top. So just keep that in mind as well. But look how nice this is to kind of layer in some hair. Especially for something this small, like a mustache, I'm not going to be doing different hair chunks or anything like that. It's just going to be this one piece. I find that that catches paint beautifully. Oh, what a funny little mustache. It's really coming out a little mousy. I don't hate it though. Alrighty. We're going to subdivide that down to 5,000 points. Miguel's here. Hi. Thanks for tuning in. RB Gaming. Mia, use Character Creator 4 in your workflow or only ZBrush? I use both. I mean, technically my husband's one. He'll take my human characters like Odin and do a couple poses for those. But as far as for monsters, no, I still pose all of those and usually on stream. And it's all in ZBrush. All right, I think I grabbed all the questions. Very good. Even though it's not critical to the design, I do like having the poly paint. I just think it's fun to take the time to do it. All right, let's go ahead and detail this lovely asymmetrical beard. So one of the things I like to do when I'm making something like this higher res, especially when there's braids, when I add subdivision levels, it gets really smushy, is the way I put it, kind of blobby. You can prevent that by going to your Z modeler brush and adding creasing. It doesn't take very long. Just hover over a crease in spacebar and then crease, edge loop complete. Make sure you don't have symmetry turned on, otherwise it kind of gives it likes to have a little meltdown about it. There we go. And now when I subdivide, there'll be a little stronger form there. You can see there's some like better creases right here. It's really, really small and minute, but taking the extra 10 seconds to do it, it kind of gives a nice little edge for paint to catch. I swear, it's really worth it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and split this base part of the beard away, and then we're gonna detail this underneath, and then I'll blend the braids into it. It kind of has a messy, asymmetrical beard going on here, and I'm a big fan of it. So for this, like before, I can use my rake brush, or I can use my slash. Let's see how rake does, because we're layering stuff on top of it, which is kind of interesting. So it really just needs to be kind of like a big blanket texture. Looks kind of like a angry marshmallow right now. Yeah, that's gonna work well. And go ahead and merge down those layers and then a touch of poly paint. Sweet. What's also cool about this, if I grab my Move Topological brush, I can actually click and drag individual braids here. Oh, I didn't see that I missed this little spot. There we go. Go ahead and smooth, and then click and drag. Another tip is just make sure that wherever the hairline actually meets the face, that's not perfectly smooth. It's gonna have some variation in that edge. There we go. Perfect. All right, that messy beard is complete. We're gonna go ahead and merge down all the different components, including those bushy eyebrows, and get those subdivided or unsubdivided, so essentially decimated, to a more reasonable poly count, because they don't need to be nearly 1,000,000. That's pretty excessive. Miguel says, working on more dragons today. Why do they have so many scales? Like, why? Yeah, they do be scaly. They do be reptilian. Oh yeah, this Streamlabs bot is going a little nuts right now, isn't it? Which is interesting, because I have these on a 30-minute to 45-minute timer. I guess poor Streamlabs can't count, can it? At least it has good information to share. That's the one thing I can control. Do you guys have anything fun planned for the weekend? I'd like to know. I know quite a few of you guys hung out with me on Saturday and Sunday, but if you weren't, I want to know. Miguel says, I blame you, Mia. Not sure why, just feels right. Well, I did invent dragons, so that does check out. Let's give a nice gold color to these little buttons here. Very nice. Something simple. This isn't very high poly, so I don't have to worry about that too much. And the rest of them have pretty nice subdivision levels on it. So I'm going to adjust the pipe folds on this skirt, and then after that, we'll be ready to move on to the main Tavern Keeper's Craft, which today is a request from Kyle for their own player character named Rorik, I think it is. Really cool. It's an Imperial Sorcerer, and they have some really beautiful concept art that they got commissioned for me to work off of, which is a treat. I'm totally happy to work from stick figures or Google image collages, but every now and then I get somebody that commissioned another artist. It kind of feels like a collaboration between artists. It's fun. I'm gonna duplicate this raven and throw it on the other side. Perfect. And then simplifying the belt, because we have a ton of different poly subtools here, and we definitely don't need that many. So let's start simplifying this. Anything that's going to move or bend, I want to make sure I don't make it too low poly, otherwise it gets kind of pixelated as it goes. So I'm just taking the time to be thoughtful and think about what is going to bend during this pose and what's going to stay mostly the same. And same with anything involving symmetry. As of now, looking pretty good. And then, like I touched on earlier, I'm gonna go through here and take the time to make sure things are labeled in a way that makes sense. Otherwise, I have extract 3, extract 5, 2_1. If it's confusing to you, it's gonna confuse character creator as well. That's kind of a nice rule of thumb. Let's go ahead and rename these. I'll call this a shirt. Doesn't have to be great names, just has to be stuff that's actually different. There we go. And then same with the boots. It's kind of a funny thing. Anything that has a left and a right, it's, you know what, you're not even gonna see his feet because he's got this long cloak. So there we go. Make that really simple. Just delete it entirely. No shoes for him. Which makes sense. If he's all powerful, he can probably cast some sort of fancy spell on his feet to not have to worry about the cold. The cold never bothered him anyway. Goodness. All right, let's see how our low res is looking here. Miguel says, here's an artsy question for you. When was the last time you were in the zone and lost track of time because you're so into your art? I hit that last week with the Copper Dragon. Truthfully, all the time. It just happened right now. I'm supposed to spend 30 minutes on the opening, and I already have passed that. Our little beer mug doesn't even exist anymore. I have a cute little mug that slides at the bottom. So, all the time. Literally every day. Always trying to keep track and stay on my little schedule thing, but I'm like, it's more of a suggestion. They're more like guidelines. All right, let's see if this is going to be ready to be posed. Looking good. And that was a very artsy, on-topic question, Miguel. I'm proud of you. Usually it's something unhinged, like where are the bodies? So, very good. Proud. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hide this space because that won't contribute to the final poly count. There are his funny little bare feet poking out. Minnie Blay says, it's gonna feel weird not giving you reference ideas. Very true. So usually on my streams, I have you guys involved in the process and I have polls and lore and decisions. But today, I kind of have all that mapped out. So I'm just going to kind of boogie and get some work done. Tomorrow, I assure you, things will be back to normal. And then I'll also have a post in our Discord where you guys can put references ahead of time. All right, this is pretty much right above budget. This can be as high as it can go. I think this will be just fine. If I want, I can find just one subtool here to reduce, just to be on the safe side. Yeah, let's just make this 35,000 points, and then I know Character Creator 4 will have no excuse but to behave. Sweet. All right, very happy with that. I can go ahead and save Odin. That is pose ready. And now let's begin the main Tavern Keeper's craft. Alrighty. If you are new here, hi, my name is Mia. I am Mia M30M, which is just short for Mia's 3D models. And that's what I do. For the last 6 years, this has been my full-time job. I make 3D printable models for a living based on requests I get on Patreon. And today is a pretty cool one. Let me go ahead and show you the details on this one. All right, this is from Kyle Homer. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon and for this request. They asked for Rorik the Imperial Sorcerer, and they DM'd me the details. In that case, they were these images. This is this beautiful piece of art they had commissioned their character. It's pretty unusual that I get this high quality of a reference that's so custom. Usually there's either no reference for the descriptions or my request, and they just kind of talk about it, or maybe a couple Google images. So if you do want to make a request, don't feel like you have to get fancy commission art done. You don't have to. That is my job. And here is that rough draft they had, and this is the finalized art. They were kind enough to include the rough draft because you'll see that the equipment on his hip has been flip-flopped, but it's still there. So this is kind of nice because it kind of gives me two different views of the same equipment. So this is what we're gonna make today. And if I have time, I would like to model his little familiar, which is a kingfisher and just precious. I hope you guys don't mind my dog snoring pretty darn good back there. You can actually more or less see him today, I think. See that little black smear? That is him. Wow, he is out. You can actually see him. Usually he's wrapped all the way in his blanket. But yes, this is today's request. It's Imperial Sorcerer. And that's why I don't have a bunch of polls for you guys today because, well, most of my questions have been answered. All right, let's get to work. When I first began a project, I created a project folder in ZBrush just for me, which is how I start pretty much every model. And helpfully, it just labeled begin. Pretty straightforward. Oh, and then Miguel also asked, next, what is your favorite dinosaur? I feel like I'm embarrassed that I don't even have a great answer to that question. I don't know. I don't want to give a favorite because I don't know. I don't know enough dinosaurs to give a good answer to that question. Taylor's commenting, you could fit an entire other person inside the thick of that cape. It's not judgy. It's just, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, so this next character is going to be a man, so we do not need this female base mesh, which is funny because I feel like I usually work on women, but recently has not been the case. Here is that male base mesh. Very, very Chad-esque. Kind of stamp him over here, and then you can kind of check back in as I progress. All right, the next step is I kind of run through my asset libraries here and grab whatever seems to fit. In this case, I'm probably doing a lot of these assets from scratch. Let's see if there's a basic hairstyle I can grab to get us started. I think this one's going to suit him fairly well. Again, these are just assets I have created for other characters over the years. Whenever I make one I think looks especially nice, I go ahead and save it so I can then more quickly create characters in the future. I usually end up changing quite a lot, but kit bashing in the beginning does save me a lot of time. There we go, that's a good start. Well, there's a lot of changes going to be happening here, of course. And as far as the rest of it goes, I might grab him some shoes and a staff. That's pretty much it. Wendell says, sounds like the dog has been set to vibrate. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. He has a pug and he's got that notorious snore. It's very important he doesn't miss his late morning nap. Maverick, honey, you are full death rattling. Hello? Oh, kind of woke him up. Gently, though. Darth Vader dog over here. Goodness. Okay. Any other pieces I want through here? I don't think so. And then just some really simple traveler's boots. I have some pre-made ones right here. I think I can use this one and then put this cuff on top to get the look that we need here. Yes. I might even use this one instead. I like it. So that's what I'm talking about. I can grab pieces here and then kind of kit bash new ones together to get entirely brand new assets. All right, get that mostly fit. I'm not too worried about small clipping issues because we have a lot of time left on this model. If you really micromanage and try to make it all look perfect right away, you're really going to end up just wasting a lot of time usually. All right, go ahead and shrink that down. Looks like these are going to be more mid-calf. Right now I'm using my 3D gizmo to quickly change the shape of that and then kind of paying some attention to the silhouette. Very good. And then as I mentioned, the boots in the reference kind of have a bit of like a cuff on top of them, and that's why I have this simple little low poly asset here so I can bring it in and then quickly reshape shoes I already have. Bam. All right, we'll go ahead and mirror and weld for both of these assets. I think it'd be reasonable to give him 2 shoes. And that's good enough for right now. He's got something on his feet. Let's move on to the next thing. Is there anything else in this asset library that's going to suit this character? I have a lot of different belts and things to start with that. Oh, Cameron's here. Hello, welcome back. Mini Blaze says, oh, wow, I am learning. I know some of the things you're doing here. Very good. I like the shape of this. but the construction of this belt is so low quality. I feel like I could do a better job. I mean, the construction's fine, but the way I have things overlapping isn't great. Let's see if we'll shape that one up today. And then somewhat soon, he'll get some pants, I promise. All right, I think this is gonna be a mostly from scratch kind of model. I like it. Let's get to work. I think so. I'm really kind of like checking if there's any other pieces I want to grab. There's not. All right. This is kind of where the fun begins. All right, so he's a bit of a slender build, so let's go ahead and change the body first. He does not need these absurd quads. I'm gonna take my smooth brush and I'm really focusing on the silhouette. His body is not going to be visible, so we don't need to worry about losing the musculature details. Same with these like gigantic lats and it's really thick neck. We can go ahead and narrow down a lot of this. Same from the side view. This guy is a sorcerer, not a tank. All right, we have a more slender build here, still on the more ripped side, but mostly concerned about the silhouette. All right, let's go ahead and give this fellow some pants. He really needs some pants, among many other things, but one thing at a time. We're into mask, extract, and ZBrush. We're pretty much gonna do that exact process like 30 times for every single piece of clothing that we're going to add here. I can get rid of his weird modesty shorts now, so that way I do not anger the YouTube gods. They've been pretty calm for me, but it depends how detailed the models are. Sometimes they don't appreciate it. All right, we have some simple pants here. And he'll also have robes as well. But I like to construct things more or less separate, and you'll see why as I keep working here. Let me give him some sleeves. I'm also not picky on the color scheme at all, because once it's 3D printed, it doesn't print in color unless you have an FDM printer with multi-filament. This is actually a model I made a couple months ago and then printed. That's not painted, that was printed off my Bamboo Labs like that, but that's the exception, that's FDM. Most things like my monsters and stuff are gonna be just this gray. I paint them on stream because one, it's fun for me, and two, I know it's more fun for you guys to see as well. Oh, and then Nerd adding some more context to their answer for my poll. Speaking of, I do have a fun poll right now. I'm asking you guys, for a memorable TTRPG encounter, how important is terrain? And I have 4 different options here. Currently in the lead, it is important, just need key elements. That's my answer as well. I really feel like it adds a lot. Obviously, it's not essential, but for sense of scale, I do think it's almost essential. All right, Nerd says, additional thoughts on the terrain question. It is important because it adds environment and can tell stories, but they don't need to be modeled into the base. Let the artist tell the story themselves. Well put. Nerd, or my resin color printer. Okay, yes, this is true. You're like the one person I know with access to one. So the technology is coming. It's just not on consumer level yet. And then Taylor tagged me, maybe he could have candles inside his beard. Oh, for Odin? That could be kind of cool. This guy, we're actually working from a pretty nice, really beautifully rendered commission that I'm now bringing to a 3D space. I can show that to you guys right now. Or you know what? For this specific model, we're going to do things a little bit different. I usually don't keep my references on screen. One, because y'all be crazy about matching details, and it's a reference I'm not usually copying. In this case, I am going to capture pretty much all of the elements here, so I don't mind having it on screen. Otherwise, I find it's a bit distracting. All right, so that is the character we are creating right now. Probably don't need it to take up that much of my screen. Let's scooch you over. There we go. All right, so that's what we're working on. This is not an invitation to play Spot the Difference, guys. We're 20 minutes in, so no. Just kick back, relax, and see the artistic process happens. Tomorrow, though, I will be more than ready and excited for your guys' artistic feedback and input as we design something together. Today, the design it's been made. So I'm gonna just follow that. To shape these sleeves, I went ahead and masked the top and the bottom here, and now I'm coming through with my inflate brush to add some volume. They're loose fitting, not just puff sleeves, so I'm gonna need to be very careful with my the construction of the fabric fold to indicate what kind of material it is. I could actually reuse the same cuffs for the boots for the ends of the sleeve, actually. I think that's gonna work quite nicely. No, they kind of have a bit of a flare to them, and I don't like it. So, nope, we're not gonna do that. It can be tempting, but it's almost never worth taking an asset you already have and then going through great lengths to reshape it just right. Just take the time to make it correctly the way you want the first time. I promise. This is the way. Another tip, I find when you're working on things like this, it's better to do it outside of symmetry. Otherwise, it can be a bit finicky, actually. The 3D Gizmo kind of makes some decisions for you, and they're not always the best decisions. I say that like it's a bad friend, like it's a bad influence. All right, we have these sleeves, more on the simple side. Loose fit again, but not necessarily a puffer sleeve. Now let's create the mini layers of this guy's shirt. We got a lot going on here. Or first, we're doing this undershirt. So I'm gonna mask a little box. And kind of like I mentioned before, it's gonna be a lot of mask, extract, and then Z-remesh. I'm gonna turn on double, so that way when I actually pull down like these little flaps right here, you can see them on the other side. Without double turned on, it just looks invisible, which can make it a little trickier for me to find my silhouette lines. This shirt is considerably longer, so we're gonna drag it down. Let's see, our reference here, his knee is about here. So we're going to about knee. Though he does have an even lower undershirt, which is this section here. I might make that a skirt. Yes. Or no, it pops up right here too. Okay, so in that case, we're not working on the layer I thought. There's an even lower layer, so we'll do it that way. It's interesting that when you're 3D modeling, quite a bit of what you do follows construction that you would follow in real life. Like for example, if this guy was real, he would put his bottom layer on first and then layer on top of that, right? So we're kind of dressing him up from the top, from the bottom up. I don't know how his butt is hanging out after all of that work. And then it crashed my program. ZBrush was so horrified to see that clipping error that it just crashed. Not a worry. This is why I obsessively quick save every 3 minutes. This is not my first rodeo. And there we go. Didn't lose a lick of progress. Very good. Fixing that clipping issue. ZBrush was just very, very offended. I did not put him away. What are you gonna do? Crash, apparently. Do you guys work with any finicky software? I would love to know, for my other creators out there, what software do you use that crashes the most? I'm obviously a little biased because ZBrush is kind of my go-to, so obviously that's gonna be my answer. But I know my husband has a hell of a time with Character Creator 4 every now and then too. All right, we have our first layer here. I'm gonna use Polish by Features to get it looking a little bit smoother because it's a little bit lumpy. It's very, very important that you take your time to shape this base mesh here. So kind of looks low and pixelated, and it's not very inspiring. But this is where it's at. Think about, like, I do a lot of baking analogies, not because I'm some great baker. I'm just usually hungry when I stream. But like, no one likes cake for the icing. It's usually their least favorite part. You have to have the actual fundamentals of it, which is cake, right? So that's kind of what this is here. It's like, you don't want to focus on all the tiny details. That's not what makes the model special. It's the fundamentals. You want to have a solid silhouette. You want to have interesting design components, that kind of stuff. And then later you can add the stitching, the skin pores, that kind of stuff. But don't get lost in it too soon. Otherwise, you're going to really lose out on clarity of your design, among other things. All right, we have that lowest layer here, which you can see poking out here, and also this undershirt. Now we're going to construct the second layer, which is another shirt. This guy's wearing 3 shirts. Okay. And something that we can do to make that save a little bit of time is, instead of making it from scratch, Windows, we can go ahead and just duplicate this mesh we just created. Fast way to do that is Command-Shift-D, that's the hotkey. And now I can take this, inflate it a little bit by holding Command. We're going to change the color too, so I can actually see what's going on. And then mask that section. So you can see that I am just reshaping that copied one that I have. It kind of saves me a little bit of time. This has a split that comes up. So let's go ahead and fashion that. An easy way to do that is using the ZModeler brush. You can go ahead and mask the polys you don't want, hide them, and then delete hidden. There you go. It's starting to come together. We got a long way to go, but it's looking like anything, so that's exciting. The Forge of Many Things says, ZBrush crashes more than anything else I use. The last version of Litchi Slicer has some terrible hanging issues with certain saves. Oh, no kidding. And yeah, ZBrush is they're crashing for the other ones. Beautiful. Wolf asks, is this character wearing a kilt or just flappy pants? I gave him pants as well. He just has a lot of clothes. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you're having a good time, it does really help if you like the stream. If you're really having a good time, I can be so bold for you to subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. If you have questions, please ask. I love sharing my process. I try to be pretty detailed as I work, but I know it's quick, so I don't expect you guys to actually retain all of it. There we go. So I have a couple issues here. I did not match my things up correctly. So see where the top of the boot is? That's correct. It's mid-calf. This second layer is really not low enough, so let's do some adjustments. Nothing set in stone. That's gonna be even lower. There we go. That's more the silhouette we're supposed to have. I was gonna say, because I'm running out of room for this shirt, and I don't know why. There we go. He needs some color. What would be a fun color? I'm thinking teals and maybe some purples. Again, technically doesn't matter because it's not going to print in color, but it's quite fun for me. Another easy thing I like to do is just putting gradients darn near everywhere. I find it really makes things pop, and if I take the time to poly paint my characters, it makes me a little bit more excited about them too. Starting to add a few gradients here and there. The depth really, really helps. There we go. Very nice. All right, that is good enough. Moving right along. On to the top detail here. Oh, Kyle's here. Hello, that is the requester. Purple hues fit best. Well, let's do it. I guess that makes sense why this is kind of shaded in purple, huh? Yeah, I was talking about you earlier, because obviously this is your character and I'm having a really good time. It's a little different compared to my normal streams. I usually do a little more like crowdsourcing from, you know, our fellow peasants about design decisions. But this concept art is so nice, I'm pretty much just gonna copy it, which is not what I do usually. Usually most people don't even provide references like this, or not this high quality, or it'll be just like a collage of Google images. So this has been quite a treat to work from. We are slowly dressing him right now, one layer at a time. It is time for this outermost layer, which is going to be this coat. So we have undermost shirt, top shirt, and now the rest of the coat. All right, to construct that, it's very similar to our other process here where we're going to mask the shirt. Take care that you're also masking the back. I'm using 2 different masking brushes to achieve this, which is Mask Pen and Mask Lasso. That's why I have them docked right here on my UI. Here we go. Goodness, we have over almost 20 people watching the stream right now. Hello and welcome. It's always fun for me to see that many people watching me do my work. If you have any questions, please don't be shy, ask. I love what I do, and today's a little bit different of a stream because I'm not, as I mentioned earlier, like crowdsourcing the lore and the history behind each character. It's kind of just been decided for us with this really lovely character here. And as we go through this, the colors are going to change a lot. And at the end, they technically don't matter because it's going to be 3D printed in a solid color, but it's sure fun to look at. RV Gaming says, I have one question, Mia. I'm not sure if you've had that or not, but sometimes an object just keeps bending if I use the gizmo. That means you have a little sneaky mask hiding somewhere. So this is the 3D gizmo, and when you move it like this, it's moving as it should. However, if you have, let's say, just the tiniest mask. Can you guys even see that? That's before, that's the after. You like can't even tell anything's there. But now if you use the gizmo, it's gonna start to bend and to tear. So how do you fix that? Simply hold down Command, click, and drag a little box. Your mask is clear. So that is your problem, RB. Taylor says, whoops, I was watching the live stream from 20 minutes ago, so some of my chat comments must have been out of sync with what was on the screen. They were a little out of sync, but you always have really good comments, so it still felt relevant, honestly. Kyle says, Haslif, I'm really bad with names, is one of my favorite TTRPG artists. Check out his stuff when you have time. Ooh, I will. Foxy, weather must be cold in the Empire for all those layers. That's what I was thinking. Oh, and then the Forge Main Things also mentions if your focal shift is -100. That is also true. Your focal shift really shouldn't ever be -100, or but if it is, that will also cause problems for sure. Let's see if it's going to do it. I have the focal shift at -100. It's not causing the same error that I found earlier, but you totally can run into really funny issues when your focal shift is too high or too low. I'm also going to write down that name of the artist so I don't forget later. The first thing that popped up was our commissions. Very cool. Thank you. All right, let's keep on going. I really don't like how chocolatey brown these are. I would like if they were a bit lighter and tanner. Again, it doesn't actually matter, but it's so fun. All right, let's continue to button all these layers. And then we'll get some work done on his face. Alrighty. I really like the slope of his shoulder here. I mean, my focal shift's -100. I'm like, why is my brush acting so stupid? Because it's -100. I was gonna say. If you guys are ever having trouble with your brushes and you're new and you don't know what you did wrong, just click B for your brush palette and then click Reset All Brushes. That should fix, here we go. That should fix your problem. If it doesn't, you could always just close and reopen ZBrush. That also usually fixes most beginner mistakes. Obviously, in the long run, you want to learn what are causing your problems. But I find that a lot of my beginner students just get so frustrated with ZBrush fighting them that they want a quick and easy fix, and that is one of the quickest and easiest fixes. All right, so my topology is pretty stretched out here because that's finding that base shape. To get more even topology, we'll go to ZRemesher and same. Beautiful. Again, we're so early on here, but you still want to have nice construction. There's a nice little taper to this, just like that. Maverick is snoring so loud today, I'm gonna have to ask my husband to boot the dog. Maverick is my dog. He is sleeping on this dog bed right here. You cannot see because it's so dark. There he is. He's here. He has rewrapped himself. He takes his late morning naps very, very seriously. This last weekend, my husband and I pretty much spent the entire weekend barbecuing outside, and Maverick just ran around and partied all weekend long. So he is exhausted right now. All right, this is looking pretty good. Mostly the right shape, still a lot of work to go. But he's gonna look really cool. There's a lot of different colors too on all these like layers of shirts. They're gonna make this look fantastic, and I really could use a practice. I don't like making collars very much because it's very, very sensitive topology, but it's so, so worth it to take the time to make it look nice. He is a bit of a tall fellow, isn't he? Yeah, the proportions on this aren't quite stacking up correctly, and that is why I'm missing about a foot of height on this character. In the meantime, I can just make his boots a little bit shorter. Very nice. RB says, I always default to all brush reset and it fixes, but still haven't found the cause. Also, I checked no mask, no focal shift. I'm not sure. Man, it looks like you have a third odd issue. It can depend, maybe if your draw shift is 1, that can cause other weird issues, or if you have dynamic enabled or not enabled. At this point, you would probably need to send me a video of the problem. Alrighty, let's keep on working here. I think I really want to add this nice large underbelt here. So we'll go back to that body here and then mask lasso. We are currently just hit the hour mark of the stream, and the first 30 minutes of the stream are just an opener. So that means we've only been working on this for 30 minutes. Pretty darn happy with the progress. Do we have an immense amount of work in front of us still? Of course. But it's already looking like a thing, and that's always fun. All right, let's get some color back in here. Continue to structure. So it's right above his breastbone right there. And then it falls right past his hips. So notice when I'm creating clothing, I'm always looking for landmarks on the body to reference. Because if you keep referencing the body, each clothing piece will actually make sense within each other. It sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but if you don't think about it intentionally, it can be really easy to get lost on. This belt is so ridiculously chunky. I really do hate the construction of it too. I mentioned that earlier, and I'm like, oh no, it's probably fine. I can do better than that. I'm gonna make a new belt. That's one of the best parts of having your own asset library you're working on, is that it always feels worth it to take the time to construct something better. Some of these layers are going to get a little heavy. We can fix that in Transpose Master. And then RB added a picture in ZBrush questions. Yeah, I'm familiar with what the issue is, but just seeing the gizmo, is it providing enough information? I would need to see like your brush settings. That's why I mentioned like a video. You'd have to like click through like a ton of your settings. It's very odd. It's not, unless you have dynamics turned on, that would be interesting. Make sure that you have the right gizmo enabled. There are a couple. Where is the other one? Here we go. We have some gizmos down here. We also have transpose lines. One's normal, one is for cloth. You need to make sure you don't have cloth enabled. Here we go. The exact problem that you're having, RB though, that's actually a reason why, even if I have students that have been creating for a long time, when I get new students in my mentorship program, I almost always insist they go through the fundamentals anyway. Because there's something that you're doing that I guarantee I already covered in my like fundamentals series. But it's so easy, like depending on the way that you like have learned things, you might have learned things a little backwards without knowing it, which can be very, very tricky. It's always harder to unlearn problems and than just prevent them in the first place. All right, what other aspects we need here? That's looking fine. I'm gonna create a better, smarter belt. So we can go ahead and draft that. I love using the curved strap snap brush for that. You can just click and drag out, hold down shift, and it will snap a shape. Pretty darn cool. It doesn't always work that smoothly, to be clear, but when it does, it's quite satisfying. All right, that worked. Let's go ahead and throw a buckle on there. Beautiful. It's actually going to be facing the other way. Really small detail, but I do like to follow the references when I have such a nice reference as closely as possible. Excellent. And then we'll do this really cool fold strap belt knot later. Yoni says, I just subbed to your learning Patreon last night. Oh, awesome. So that was you. So funny story. The day that you said you were going to sign up, Yoni, which wasn't long ago, someone else did, like just by coincidence the next day. So I've been talking to that person thinking it was you. I didn't use your name, thankfully, and embarrassed myself. But I just thought, like, what are the odds that someone signed up the day you said you were going to sign up? Turns out the odds were possible. That makes you my 4th new student this month, which is crazy. I've never had that many new students in 1 month before, so it definitely deserves a little bit of celebration. It's so much fun having all these new students. And again, because you guys are all at these different levels, and it definitely makes me better as an artist, which makes it relevant too. If y'all are interested in becoming a student, I haven't remodeled my Patreon to look as fancy as I want it to, but most of all the content's there, it's just me. But I do want to make that look nicer for y'all. RV Gaming says, I am used to having that problem. But as I said, it's easy fix. I didn't bother looking into all the parameters of the brushes. Asked to know if I'm the only one that the gizmo is playing with me. No, it definitely has happened to me before. And it's like, I'm glad that Matt even tuned in about things that it could be. That's the thing about ZBrush. It's very, very sensitive on all the different things that can trigger it. But anyways, the odds were in your favor. I guess so. All right, let's keep on working here. God, this is such a cool character. This is going to be a little more of a relaxed fit. And he's going to have these nice lapels on them too. I don't know if I have those created or not yet. But you know what? I'm on a live stream right now. Let me show you guys how to do it from scratch. It's my favorite way to do it. So see these lapels right here with this nice big long dramatic collar? This is one of the easiest ways you can create it, other than just making it once and saving the asset. Go ahead and duplicate the shape that you're going to be creating this collar on, and then go to your ZModeler brush. Hold down Option, Alt on Windows, and then click and drag. You're going to pretty much just paint the lapel on there. If your topology is super jacked, this is not going to work. You're going to need to ZRemesh first. When you have this little taper that's out right above the breastbone, that's more of a feminine cut. That's why you can see on here, it's actually much, much lower, which is pretty normal. We're not going to give him a womanly flattering cut. Not that kind of model. You can go ahead and take your move brush and actually kind of do yourself a little bit of work beforehand. There we go. That's roughly the right shape. That's good enough. It doesn't need to be exact. And then Command Shift and click on either polygroup. You can either click on the one you don't want twice, or the one you do want once. Either works. From there, click on delete hidden. And then I really encourage you to probably fix your topology one more time. So I like to do ZRemesh and same. If it really wants to fight you and give you really horrible topology, there's two things you can do. Polish by features, and then go to geometry, edge loop, panel loops. This, or group loops, my bad. This is gonna give it a better edge to follow. Just be careful if you're adding thickness or not, and if you're ready for that step. It actually is giving me like really terrible topology, so I'm gonna use this trick. And I'm a little horrified that on group loops, it did this. This is the first time this demo has not worked on stream, but that's okay. You know, ZBrush is keeping me on my toes. That's what I'm here for. So to fix that problem, I simply added a little bit more resolution and then did my little trick. And that worked much better. See? I don't mind when things go wrong on stream because then I can show you guys even more solutions to the solution. All right. And then another easy way to get to fit is by bringing up your gizmo, holding command, and then click and drag on this yellow square, which will inflate. All right, and let's go back to our reference and kind of see where this is falling and how far it goes. I can see that it's going to take up half of the width of this section from his neck to his shoulder. So this, right from the get-go, I know needs to be wider. So I can go ahead and mask that edge and then just drag it over. You can see I'm not being super careful on how rough the edge is or anything like that because we're still in the very, very early stage of shaping. But I'm telling you, collars are one of those things. It is worth your time to make it look as good as possible. They're such an important part of like the construction of clothes, and it's really going to add a lot of appeal to the model. Another thing is to make sure that it's actually going to lift up right here. There's a couple different ways you can do that. You can use a standard brush or just your move brush a bunch of times. There we go. We are slowly forming it. It really won't look like a thing until it is done, but the piece has been created. MiniBlaze says, you keep saying commands on Mac. Yeah, because I use a Mac. I use Apple. But I still say the command for Windows as well. That's why I say like command for this or Alt, for example, for Windows. Thank you, Yoni. Alt is for different things. MiniBlaze, are you telling me my hotkeys? I know you're not telling me my hotkeys. You know I know what hotkeys to use. I'm looking at them. I actually used Windows for a really long time. Using a Mac computer is somewhat new to me, but I've been doing Mac for the last 2 years. But I'm 28, and so for the first 26 years of my life, I use Windows. All right, the collar is finally starting to look like a thing. I told you it would look like a thing all at once. Oh, for those that are new, I just give MiniBlaze a hard time. If you ask a question, I will not sass you that hard, I promise. I promise. That's just for MiniBlaze. She's very talkative and asks lots of questions, so I like to give her a hard time. She's also here pretty much every day. All right, let's go ahead and inflate that a touch, and then we're gonna merge that down so I can move it up. So you can use folders in ZBrush to organize your subtools. I actually wanted folders for a very long time, and I don't use them. I'm an absolute heathen. I was one of those people that complained about not having folders, and then Pixelogic was like, here, folders, and now I'm like, nah. I just use a bunch of polygroups in the same subtool. MiniBlaze sniffs. You know I'm giving you a hard time. All right, another thing that'll give that looser fit is this seam right here is pretty critical. So I don't have a shirt like that today, but most of your t-shirts, that seam from your sleeve to the actual like shirt part is right here on top of your shoulder bone. But for a more relaxed fit, you just move that seam off the shoulder bone to here, and you'll see that's conveyed right here as well. This artist knew what they were doing and did a really, really, really good job. They're definitely at a higher skill level than I am, which is all the more reason I was really excited for this request, because working from art at a higher quality than what my level is at is great because it makes me a better artist too. If it's not like obvious to you why I can look at this and know that they're a more experienced and skilled artist than I am, despite, I'm like, oh, I've been here for 6 years, I'm full-time, blah, blah, blah. I can get more into that. But there's certain, like, telltale signs here in their art that I know immediately that they have stronger fundamentals on some things than I do. To be clear, I love my art. I think I'm great. But that doesn't mean I don't have a ton to learn still. These things can both be true. And frequently are both true at the same time. His face is cracking me up. I'm really looking forward to changing his face and not be just like this generic Chad face. All right, I want to start adding some of the assets here. Not all of them, but enough to start kind of blocking out the silhouette. I have a master tool called Items, which is an asset library of all kinds of goodies I've made for characters over the years. Every now and then I go through here and I make sure to throw away stuff that my skill level has surpassed. But if you look at this little pouch right here, also same one right here, it's surprisingly similar to this pouch I have already made. Would you look at that? Meant to be. I have very helpfully labeled it nice bag. So the one in the reference is a little bit skinnier and it doesn't have this little ring. So we'll remove that too. Usually I'm not so picky about following references carefully, and in fact, I specifically make a habit to not follow references this carefully. This is a very unique stream. This is definitely an exception. I'm saying that to save me in the future for when my regular peasants return on a future stream. They're like, "You're not copying this?" I'm like, "I know, I usually don't do that. It's just this one time. Just this one time." Alrighty. There we go. That is mostly correct. And then we have these lovely quivers and whatnot. Yes, this is a scroll holder. That looks like a canteen. And then that is a quiver with arrows and that really nice dagger in a sheath. Ooh, I really like that too. The rest of this might be located in my weapons asset library. RB says, if not wrong, Command is Control on Windows. I think so. I'm laughing at Mini Blaze's comment. It is spicy time. All right. What else was I grabbing? I was doing something, and my brain just like, no, you were not doing something. I know I was doing something. Ah, weapons. There we go. Alrighty, let's bring this up. And I have a decent quiver that will probably work well for this. I say decent because I've been using it for years and I really think I could do a better job. But it definitely gets the job done. Let's make the fletchings a red or an orange. That kind of purpley color is nice. I'm gonna throw it on this hip here. Rotate. Oh, that means I can't forget to give him a bow then. It'd be very silly if he was carrying a quiver but did not have a bow. I'm not sure what the size of the bow is here. Looks like it's a proper full-size long bow almost. I mean, smaller side. It's not gonna be like the height of him like a long bow would be, but close. We'll just throw one on here for now, on right across his butt. I like this nice purpley color, so we'll keep it. I can see it's kind of, whoop, that was crazy. It's kind of poking out in the reference right here. Excellent. Slide that down so it's a little more comfortable for him to grab. This is where you'll start seeing a lot of discrepancies between 2D and 3D art usually, because on 2D it might look good, and then we gotta actually try to fit all those assets in the same area. There's not enough literal 3D space, but luckily that's my job. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this and just delete the fletchings in it and mirror it onto the other side, just to kind of block out the shape for these other two objects. I might make them from scratch, or I might consider this little shape here sufficient. We'll see. At the very least, it does need to be a bit more stout. Has a nice angle to it. Looks like it has other series of straps that are connecting it. There we are. So that's the top one and the bottom one, which is slightly higher up and a little bit smaller. Again, we'll probably refine these later, but this is a nice start to get everything blocked out and in place. Last but not least, we have this really nice dagger. I really, really like the sheath on it and stuff. I have a fairly nice wrapped hilt here. It's not as nice as the one in the drawing though. I'll need to do a little bit of kit bashing to make that, because this has a really rough, jagged edge, which isn't nearly as clean and simple as this. I even have this labeled as weathered sword, so. But for now, since we're just getting all of our pieces in place, it's okay to have it on here. Tried to mute my mic, but I was on the wrong page. I have the most ridiculous sneeze. Don't worry about it. All right, we're going to shorten that up and pin that to the belt. It's more of a placeholder for now, but it's nice enough. All right, it's starting to really come together. I still see a lot of work that needs to be done, but I'm more or less happy with where we're at, especially for the amount of time. We've done almost an hour here. Thank you guys. This is where like the really fun part starts, because we're gonna start digging into some details, and that's where like the ooh and ah comes in, where it actually looks impressive. I already like where it's at, because this is the hard work, is getting the shapes down. All right, this is a human sorcerer, but there was a more fun name. Imperial human sorcerer. There we go. Yes, the blocking out stage. You got it, Mini Blaze. All right, let's fix his Chad face and his Superman hairstyle. All right, we have a really, really nice face here. I love the little goatee and the severe cut features. He's quite handsome. So let's see if we can get that going. Oh, Kyle says, back weapon's actually a hand-sized crossbow. Sorry, I've been out on and off the stream. No, don't worry at all. So, right here, it looks more long bowy, but I can always take this. A hand crossbow usually has a, like a mechanism for like bolts, right? Hand-sized crossbow. Yeah. You're being clear. I'm kind of like asking questions to myself to remember which is which, because I do have a really snazzy hand crossbow, but I'm not sure if I have kept it. Yeah, this one, where it already has a bolt loaded on it, actually. You know what? That bow shape here does fit that quite well. Don't mind me. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. One of the many reasons why I love when you guys are able to join the stream. That would make the quiver a bolt quiver. You are correct. It does have like this handle on it. I don't know if that's going to make this fit weird. Well, it would be cool if the handle kind of sat up and over his belt on the side, because he'd be able to reach over and grab the handle, and which does make sense. we'll get rid of this one here for now. I might make a nicer one later, but this is just a nice, oh, that does look better. That does look better. That is correct. Thank you, Kyle. And it was on the other side, actually. Yes. So it should be here. Ah, that does look better. Yep. And I can take that handle and actually hook it on top of his belt. I love that. That looks pretty nice. All right, back to de-chatifying his face. All right, a few things here. First off, we need this awesome little goatee. I'm gonna go with mask pen and just literally draw it on. I'm gonna drop the resolution of the face, and this is one of the very, very few times I will extract with thickness. 0.05. That's a bit ridiculous. Not quite right. 0.025. Stop being picky, ZBrush. There we go. All right, so the reason why we have some funniness going on here is because it's actually masking his teeth, because this mesh right here does have teeth. Here, I can show you. See? So that's why that's happening right there. Just keep that in mind when you're masking and things are being a little silly. There's usually a reason for it. Not the end of the world. We'll just Z-remesh and then get rid of those extra groups we don't need. Alrighty, so on this one, it's upside down. This one, it's kind of like a small beard almost. I'm gonna go with the more up-to-date sketch. There we are. Yeah, I'll be careful not to, there, let me scroll up. If I keep looking at the bottom sketch one and I'm like, there's literally an updated sketch right here. Focus on that. Oh yeah, Kyle, I'm not certain if I'm going to include the Kingfisher, because technically that's a second model, you know, worth of work. But he's so cute and cool, and I would love to include the Kingfisher familiar. It just depends if I have enough time or not. Alrighty, we're gonna reduce the resolution again, come in by Move Topological Brush, and we're gonna start looking at the planes of his face here and creating them. So first things first, he does have a nice hollow here where all your buccal fat is, but his cheekbones are too low. So we're gonna go ahead and push these up higher. I'm grabbing that hollow and moving it up, being very careful here. The face is very sensitive. Second, I have this big divot. That's why I call it like his Chad face. I think it's funny. We're gonna smooth down that chin because he does have a strong jaw here, but not quite that ridiculous. Oh, and he's not gonna be smiling. Stop that. It's serious here. I love how angular his nose and his eyes are, so I'm working on that as well. He does have a bit of a thin lip and then a lower jawbone. I'm looking at this angle right here. So we're taking this point and moving it straight down. You can already tell his face is much longer and closer to the reference here. Yoni says, time to open ZBrush. Yes, that's the spirit. And then we're gonna take these eyebrows, which are much too bushy, and squish them. So you'll notice with a lot of my bases here, I like to take away volume, not add volume. That's why my base mesh, he's super buffed out and Chad, because it's easier for me to take this ridiculous chin and pull it up than to pull it down accurately. That's kind of just the way my brain works. I'm not sure if that's a good blanket rule, but same goes for the eyebrows. I like having these big, thick eyebrows, and then from there, it's easier to taper them down. Kind of the way that you would work with real clay, actually. I'm not sure where I got that habit, because I've never worked with real clay in my life. All right, and then these eyebrows are much lower set on his face. He looks almost annoyed, but more like he's focused. So we're going to lower his eyelid as well. I'm grabbing Move and Backface Mask to achieve that, and then angling his eyes up just slightly. He does look somewhat older, so I'll be adding a few wrinkles later on. see if I can grab my pinch brush to narrow his eyes a bit. That's a bit of a bold technique to try. The pinch brush is mostly reliable. Kyle says, no worries. On the familiar, I will print an existing STL to move around on tabletop. Okay. I'm curious, would you prefer, or would you like to have him on his shoulder if possible? Or do you actually prefer to not have two copies of him in the real world? Because that means you'd have his mini and you would have this model. Now that I've asked the question, it feels kind of dumb. You probably would obviously not want the familiar to exist twice on the board, so I will not put him on his shoulder. Sounds good. All right, angling his nose up a bit. I'm really excited with how different his face is looking already. And then he has much more of a center part. Again, this hairstyle here is just for blocking purposes. Let's move it over. Let's grab these little Clark Kent curls, which I do really like, and I might keep them. I'm just going to move them off to the side because you can kind of see a little whip of one right here. I really like small hair details, so. Oh goodness, where are my manners? Kyle, I don't know if I said thank you for supporting me on Patreon and trusting me to bring your character to life. I really love what I do, and because of people like you, this is my full-time job. So I wasn't sure if I expressed my gratitude enough. All right, there we go. Putting those little wisps off to the side and then moving his hair to be much more of a center part. He looks like the character now, but perhaps 15 years younger. So we'll be aging him up in just a moment. There's some interesting notes I have for you guys as far as aging characters goes. And it's not just carving deep wrinkles all over their face. It has more to do with fat distribution and the size of their nose and ears. So you'll notice that I usually work with my hairstyles outside of symmetry, which is kind of interesting because everything I do is usually within symmetry. Since he is a bit older, we're gonna pull this hairline back just a touch. I keep saying he's so old. This man looks like he's maybe in his 40s. I sculpt a lot of young characters, so for me, this is not a young whippersnapper. Oh, the dumb things I say on stream. I love it. I mean, that's my vocabulary in day-to-day life, too. I'm a big fan of the word neat. Kind of just moving this part over slowly but surely. And then Hindsight has a really cool thing that they've shared in our post. This is regarding the knot work. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. So we also worked on Odin earlier today, and in our Discord, we're always working on collaborating ideas in the community for projects, and Hindsight put in a really, really cool reference for me to consider when I get back to working on Odin. Always appreciated. All right, we're not going to use this other curl. It's too much curl. Just the one is fine. Just a little nub here for paint to catch. It's just a fun little detail. You actually can see it in the reference too. This is slowly becoming the right character. RB says, Mia, do you host any challenges for sculpting, or do you plan to do so? I don't right now, but I'm interested in that. I may do that. And Kyle mentioned the name is Rorik Velavir, running him in a Pathfinder Kingmaker campaign. Cool, very cool. I have never played a Pathfinder game in person, but I have played Wrath of the Righteous on Xbox, and I love it. So very cool. Hindsight said, like I said, probably disregard, but it was an idea. It's pretty awesome though. I think if I took the time to make that asset, it would be worth it and it would get reused in the future. You know how I feel about that. Positive. Alrighty, so we have just passed the halfway point in our Tavern Keeper's Craft. That is the main meat and potatoes of my stream. At the bottom, you can see that little mug right there actually is ever so slowly sliding across the screen. Once it hits happy hour, I actually go on my break for about 15 minutes, and then so begins happy hour. Sometimes during happy hour, I make a brand new asset from scratch. Other times, I get models print ready. There's all kinds of, it really just depends on the day. If you're curious what I'm doing today, I can't tell you because I don't know. I will figure it out when I get there. I actually wasn't planning to live stream at all today. I was going to take a day off, not from work, but just from streaming because I didn't have any content prepared. And then Kyle became a patron and gave me this priority ticket, and all the information I needed was already there. So I was like, oh, well, there we go. No stream prep needed. It was done for me. All right, his brow has this really sharp edge. There we go. See that small difference? This tiny little edge right here. This is the before. This is the after. Before, after. I'm telling you, faces are sensitive. So don't just start, I mean, if you know the rules of like the planes of the face and stuff, play around, always play around. But if you're really trying to like learn and sculpt a face, make sure that each little change you do, you know what you were trying to achieve. All right, he's looking pretty good here, but he's definitely looking too young for that skin texture. So let's go ahead and change that. First things first, he's kind of got this like rosy tint to his face. So we'll do some poly painting to help with that. There we go, that's with no poly paint. Kind of dry. So when you're painting the face, there's a couple considerations here. One cool thing to note is that your face kind of has different like color zones. Your chin is more bluish, this stripe is more reddish, and your forehead is more yellow. It's very subtle, it's more on the undertone side, but does make a big difference when you have all of it correct. Minnie Blay says, the coin sword was the best so far. Yeah, the coin sword was pretty awesome. That released today on Patreon, by the way, for if any of y'all were wanting to 3D print that, it is now an option. So I'm gonna grab this yellow zone here, and I'm obviously not gonna paint it that intense. We're gonna still go on the more on the warm side, lower the RGB intensity, which is the color intensity, and just kind of block out these colors here. It's very subtle, but he will already stop looking so corpse-like. There we are. Much nicer. All right, and then when doing male lips, I usually just take the skin tone and then darken it and then make it a little more rosy. So there you go. I then use that exact same tone and kind of darken their eyes, especially when it's an older character. I just find it gives them more depth and more interest. Since he has such sharp cheekbones, I'm actually gonna like shade and give him like contour essentially. I really haven't nailed this eye shape yet. That's the one thing that's kind of lacking here. I'm working on it though. I'm gonna inflate the lips a touch and then pinch. I'm just kind of fixing that gap between the mouth. All right, now I'm gonna come in with Damn Standard and start striking out some more confident forms. One, this is fun for a stylized look, but two, it's very, very important so that it's actually paintable because these are gonna be so small when printed. And if I don't bulk up any of these creases, when you go to prime your mini or paint it, it's just gonna be all lost, all the detail. I'm gonna add a little bit of crow's feet and then striking in a pretty bold line here for the cheekbones. Obviously that's way too insane. I'm kind of using it as like a construction line to see if the placement's correct. It's mostly correct. The angle from the ear is more like this. That's more correct. Yes. And now that I like that placement, I have it kind of in my head, I'm gonna reduce the intensity by a lot and strike them in again. Then when I go to smooth, I'm only gonna smooth on the underside because that's where we're removing volume. And that's how you get kind of like a really nice transition, but a more confident shape. His forehead really needs some lines. Alrighty. To do the forehead wrinkles, we're doing them out of symmetry. It's very important. I'm kind of just like scribbling a line across, and then you can't even see it, that first line I do. I don't move the camera, and I click number 1 on my keyboard, which is gonna repeat that stroke over and over and over again. So I kind of just keep clicking 1 until I find an intensity that I like. We're gonna continue defining the nose. I really think the nose in the reference is like really nice. I'm a big fan of noses. So I had the tip a little too low, so I brought it out, and then gonna define the bulb of the nose a little better. I'm also gonna push the bridge back. There we go. A little more like that. I love spending all this time on faces, even though my minis are so small, because I do have people that print my stuff really tall and statue-like, kind of like this guy. So it's all the more reason to be thoughtful with it. It also just gives me a lot of joy, so I do that too. I'm gonna make his ears a bit larger, because fun fact, your ears and your nose never stop growing, because that's cartilage on your face. So in those that are older, you're gonna have larger ears. Not necessarily like sticking off the face, but like longer. And then same thing goes for like, that's why babies have like that little button nose. All right, he's looking pretty nice. I'm gonna go ahead and scoot over here so we can kind of see our original Chad guy. So that is where we started at the beginning of Tavern Keeper's Craft, and now we are here. It's coming together. Thank you guys dearly for hanging out with me. This has been a great time. I can't believe there's so many people here. It's almost 20. The chat's been really quiet. I don't know if you guys are all doing your own work or if I'm just like, what's the word? Like rapture? If I'm like really holding your attention with like all like the process and the detailing here. But either way, I appreciate you guys so much for being here. If you're new, I would love if you join our Discord community. It's free and they can really kind of keep tabs on all the new work that I'm submitting and what's coming up next. Oh, and I also have a free STL I share every single day on Patreon, so make sure you check that out too. If you want to know what that is, just put an exclamation point freebie and the chat bot will do its job. Alrighty. This is coming out really nice though. One small mistake happened here, which I am sad about, which is when I Z-remeshed, it kind of just destroyed this topology here. I'm gonna see if I can repair it because I never do that. I just go back. Fun fact, I'm really trying hard to improve my modeling skills. So whenever I have the chance, even if it might seem a little inefficient, I try to do that. I know if I click extrude edge loop or edge, there we go. So I can click and drag and make more topology. So I think that's gonna work here. So I'm kind of just drawing out this topology here, and now I'm gonna grab my move brush and rotate and flip this side here. There we go. And now, in theory, I should be able to bridge these gaps. If I hold my Z-modeler brush over point, and then I can click bridge between 2 points. So 1, 2, 1, 2. It did not work because I don't know what I'm doing. What if I do an edge bridge? Haha, it worked. Sweet. I'm really proud of that. That's something that I would not be able to do last year, even though it's not like, you know what? I'm not going to criticize it. I'm just happy that I did a skill that I could not have done last year. Good job, me. Sweet. Hindsight says, like I said, I spent way too much time on that sketch. Now trying to play catch up at work. It makes me feel like I'm a bad influence. That's okay. Oh, and then Yoni asked for the freebie. Thank you. Taylor says, I listened to the stream while working. Oh, awesome. That makes me super happy. It makes sense. It's a Monday, but it's kind of like a little work party across the world. Because I know quite a few of you guys are international. Very cool. Hindsight said, also, you were like, silence peasants, today I shall cook. This is true. I quite literally told you guys I'm not gonna chat with y'all today. I did do that. I did. Yes, the word I was going for was enrapturing or captivating. Those are both great. Thank you. I think I'm nailing this design. I'm really excited about this. Also, after using that modeling technique to create the collar, I'm kind of feeling inspired by that. And I think I'm going to try to do the same thing for this collar here. But before I do that, I should probably take the time to make sure that this actually fits the way it's supposed to. He does have this like circle neckline, but it's definitely tighter than what I have. Oh gosh, he's looking really cool. All right, and then this is just turning out really funny. This undershirt right here. I need to make sure that line, there we go, still exists. All right, so he's got like two different lapels right here. I can see a piece of it sticking out. So in theory, I should be able to make one and then just mirror it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my Z brush without symmetry turned on. And then that's about the right shape. Hide the topology I don't want. Don't click anything if autosave is turned up, otherwise it will crash. Here we go. I'm gonna make this a slightly lighter color just so I can actually see the difference. And then come in with my move brush. There we go. Excellent. All right, I need to move this point over here. That is good enough, I do say so. Duplicate and mirror. Beautiful. Can merge these down and then I can further kind of finagle. Excellent. And then many people said, I thought I was the only one that heard that. I mean, you can talk amongst yourselves like a silent stream. You're not banished from talking, just from me, I guess. All right, let's go ahead and create a base for this guy. It's kind of that point of the stream where I like to take a break from the main block out and start to construct the scene that he's going to be living in. So they mentioned he's an Imperial sorcerer, so I'm kind of tempted to give him more of like a stone base, maybe, I want to say a pile of books, but sorcerers don't need books. They have innate magic. I don't know. I'll think of something. Kyle, if you're still lingering and you have a preference for the base, let me know. I do provide a no base version, so you're more than welcome to just print the character with nothing else and then put whatever base you want on him. That being said, I am still going to make a cool custom base for him. Kyle said, someone asked above, yes, it is a chin beard that wraps around the bottom of the chin. Thought it'd just be easy to paint on. That's true. I like sculpting it anyway, just for it to kind of have that extra oomph. I am unfamiliar with how far back a chin beard goes. Oh, how funny. I didn't know that was masked right here. I imagine. Probably doesn't go much further back. Yum. Than that. We don't cut corners in this house. Oh, that does look better. A little bit of shadow. Very nice. Hindsight says, Mia, we tried that on Saturday and still managed to distract you. This is true. Only once, though. And that's mostly because you guys kept commenting on the fact that the Hodag didn't fit on the base, and it was driving me crazy because I'm like, it's just proportions. It fits on any base I want it to. I just like to make it as big as possible. Mini Blaze says, it takes the fun if we can't pop up references. I've had to restrain myself several times. I get you. I get you. Don't worry. Tomorrow all will be well. But in the meantime, this concept is just too good and fleshed out to iterate on. Something I am noticing is I feel like his skin tone would be a little more olive toned. I wonder if I can just really easily do that. Yeah. I love that you guys are like on it with the references right away about all kinds of different beards. You're like, at last, a reason to add references. So for any of y'all that are new, my community is super, super active in the creative process, and today has been odd for them because they haven't had the chance to kind of like design the mini with me. So the fact that I asked a single question about facial hair, they are like on it in our Discord, which is great. Now follow the jawline. Sounds good. There we go. That does look nice. Hindsight, we're broken, we can't help it. No, I love the enthusiasm, I do. Gotta create vicariously through you. Honestly, it's like one of the main pitches of my stream. I hope that at the end of every stream that you guys feel kind of like, not only, at least if you were entertained by the creative journey, that you had a say in it. It's kind of like a way for all of like my artists and non-artists to be part of the creative process, which I think is fun for everyone. I cannot believe how loud my dog is snoring today. I don't know if I should apologize or if it adds ambiance. All right. Peasants are allowed to contribute on the base idea. What do you guys want for the base? I'm kind of thinking maybe some like, as far as like a texture, I'm thinking either like rock or dirt and grass, but I kind of want to put like decorations on the base. I can't think of what to put on there. Good doggo, sleepy doggo. Hindsight says, nope, too late. You ruined it. So close. How long is it ruined? Till tomorrow? It better be just till tomorrow because you guys make my stuff better. I gotta have my peasants working for me. No days off. Matt recommends feathers on the base. Or maybe some more detailed on... Oh, because he does have his kingfisher bird. That would be a really cute reference. Foxy says, spellbook, crystal ball, eldritch objects of a cursed nature. Man, y'all are just like on it. You make me feel uncreative. That's a negative way to put that. I am inspired by your endless font of creativity. There we go. I'm naturally a little skeptical and a little dry. And I take myself way too seriously. So I have to like intentionally rephrase things to be like, Don't be a downer. Just be cool. All right. The crystal ball. So he's a sorcerer. So I won't do a spell book. I could do it on the base though. The crystal ball is fun. The eldritch object of a cursed nature also has a lot of potential. I could do a couple potions kind of rolling around the base with some feathers. I think that's really cute. Feathers plus a couple potions makes me think that they're things that his familiar, which is this kingfisher bird, brought to him, which is kind of fun. And like every adventurer needs potions. So just having a couple on the base is pretty harmless. Just a little bit of flavor without being too obtrusive. Why is it just sitting on the ground though? I don't know, I put it in a basket. Let me bring up my items master tool here. And I do have feathers here. I mean, I could just make it from scratch too. That's a palm frond, and it's not a feather. There they are. And the kingfisher is just this beautiful gold and navy blue. It wouldn't be on the same feather, but just for clarity's sake, I think it's fun to have it on the same one. A broken potion. I think I do want, I can have a couple grass tufts poking through this rocky environment. It won't be bluegrass, though that is a thing. Here we go. Just add a couple small simple tufts here, and I can tuck some potions into it and maybe a couple of these feathers. Just something simple. It's not a very big bird, so we'll just do a couple here. I liked the feather detail a lot. That was a really, really excellent idea. Something subtle, something small. They can paint it as a twig if they want to. One of my favorite color techniques to use is color spray. It just adds like a nice variety without you having to think too much about it. So I'm gonna go with more of like this sandy stone look as opposed to this really boring gray. We can do better than that. Excellent. There we go, a little bit of a scene coming together here. We're almost done with the main event here, so I'm gonna try to like speed run some details now. We have stuff developed. It's time to bring it all together. All right, we have this nice little triangle detail here, very, very simple. I can just sketch that on. So let's go ahead and crease. But first, extruding a small, small trim, so Q mesh poly loop. 1, 2. If you guys want to see a lot of cool art details happen quickly, supposedly right now it's going to be happening. If you're just at work, keep on working. Or I guess you live your life, don't work, do whatever you want. Right now we're detailing the cuffs on top of the boots. There we go, a little bit of detail right there. We're gonna delete this other subtool folder so that way you don't get any weird crashing issues. Stop being silly. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about with the gizmo. If you go over that center line, it gets really upset. It's kind of hard to work with. We're gonna go ahead and put him up here as a reference of all these details we're about to put in. He needs to be a bit taller, but we won't be able to handle that until we get into Transpose Master. I can kind of lengthen the boot appearance by adding some strikes right here. Adding some nice little construction lines too goes a long way. There we are. Now coming on to the next part, we're kind of working from the bottom up for no particular reason. I need to add some thickness to make sure it's actually a real thing that will print. There we go. Next, coming in with my ZModeler brush, adding an edge loop and then a trim. Insert, single edge loop. Stop being silly. Stop bridging points. No, do nothing. ZModeler brush is like, I have never worked like this in my life. How dare you ask me to work? Insert single edge loop. Stop being stupid. Oh, I haven't applied dynamic, so it wasn't real. Ha, just kidding, it's my fault. I was like, okay. ZBrush isn't this bad. And it's true, it was me. All right, and then for this little diamond pattern here, I got a couple tricks. Something I can do is I can mask this little section right here, and then I can go to Inset Polygroup Island. Boop, we've inset that. And now we have 4 little diamonds we need to construct, and truthfully, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. But I know I can do one. What if I just do it again? Inset. I want to do it just on one side. Without symmetry. It really wants to include symmetry. No. There we go. Now that I have the topology there, I'm making it more simple. Instead of the 4, I'm just gonna do 2. And that just has to do with the size of the 3D print. So now I should be able to extrude that polygroup island. Yeah, that actually worked. Check it out. And then we'll see if I actually end up keeping it or not. As of now, I'm just trying to get better at modeling. There we go. Haha. A thing. A simpler version of the design. Because if I do it this tiny, it's not going to print well. So when I subdivide, you'll see that it gets kind of like these weird little tearing points. To fix that, just go to Crease, Edge Loop Complete, and then you just need to crease any of these areas that are being silly. So it only took 1, just right there. There you go. All right, and then we're gonna add some fabric folds. Not too many, especially because we're not gonna be able to see most of it. Really just the front part. So in that case, the only fabric folds you can see are right here. I'm gonna make those really dramatic and easy to paint. There we go. Aha, details. Does he have a staff? Yes. Yes, he does. And I probably will work on that for happy hour. That's a fantastic suggestion. All right, now we are working on his coat. I got some really funny topology here, but I'm going to take a risk and say that it's not going to cause problems. Let's see if I'm right. So far, no problems. Feeling bold today. There is a really small decorative detail all the way around here. So I'm going to do my classic, which is just inserting the edge loop and then extruding that. Insert, extrude, not polygroup island, just one line, poly loop. There you go. Doop, doop. All right, so we have that one extrusion. That looks good. I'm gonna do another one. It's pretty dramatic right here. That's actually not in the reference, but it's gonna make it more coherent when 3D printed. Same with right here. We're gonna have a tiny, tiny little line that I'm going to add and extrude. Just a, no, not like that. Small. It just does not want to be small. Why are you doing that? There you go. Okay, cool. All right, have that little bit of extrusion added. And then as far as the detail goes, because you guys know I don't skimp on details, come in here to my ornamentation brush. ZBrush stuff. Mia asset library. No, brushes, decorations. Here we go. For this specific one, it looks like just generic filigree. So I'll just pick something that I think will print well. That's pretty close. Nope, too detail. Oh, it's also not even the right one I clicked. Stop. There we go. We'll make that lovely purple accent color and then nestle that in so it actually fits well on the coat. Perfect. So just like before, when I click subdivide, you see this weird little tearing point has happened. We fix that by creasing the edge. So crease, edge. Still being silly because I didn't grab all of it. Wow, being really silly. There we go. Perfect. Now that we have that creased, I can come in here and add some fabric folds. This looks to be like a leather overcoat of sorts, so I don't want to be too heavy on the fabric folds. The thicker your material, the fewer your fabric folds are going to be generally, and the larger those fabric folds are going to be. Whenever you cross the center line, make sure you disable symmetry. Otherwise, you get some really weird artifacts, and that's not how fabric works. Come on. I'm gonna kind of strike in some really generic pipe folds right there. Just something for paintbrush to catch on. Excellent. All right, a little bit of texture, looking good, looking good. Now let's go ahead and extrude this collar. I told you details happen fast. It's all about getting all your pieces together correctly, and then you can just kind of go nuts. This also has a nice little trim piece, and we know exactly how to handle that. You insert a poly loop and then do a double extrude. 1, 2, beautiful. That will need a little bit more love and attention, but for now, that looks good. We're gonna leave it alone. I think we have just about run out of time. We have maybe 10 minutes left on this main section. But it's going pretty good. So I'm actually doing these fabric folds wrong. So I'm gonna say that out loud before I catch myself. I'm used to doing like genie belly dancer sleeves when they're this shape. That's not really what's happening here. It's just a loose fit sleeve, but it's not a thin material. So instead what I should do is I should come over to where the elbow is and work from that. So it's going to be a fabric fold more like that. And they're gonna be deeper and fewer and farther in between. Nope. That's better. Same with right here. This fold right here is what's going to actually sell it. And I'll probably have to change it once I have it posed. But this is just a reminder to future me on what material this is. That's better. That's better than the crazy fabric folds I was about to add. This is way too high res. Let's go ahead and fix that. I'm just going to delete these edge loops as needed and then extrude a couple lines. They also need to be inset. A really simple way to do that is just flip it over on the side and then grab your move brush and just hold down Alt. So there you go. Just punch out that shape. It's a small detail, but the before and the after I do think matters to have that small crease around the hand. Otherwise it just kind of looks odd. Then last but not least is this really nice large belt. Couple things here. One, it needs to have thickness. Oh, I got a really funny triangle happening here. I'm gonna trust you to not cause a bunch of problems. Okay. It won't cause any 3D printing problems, to be clear. It's more of just like construction. All right, looking good. Apply. And this has a really clear trim all the way around it. And sure enough, that's the trim line that I could use. Yeah, now I gotta fix that topology. See, like right now, if I were to extrude this poly loop, see that? We don't want that. That's what I thought I was gonna do. I'm like, are you gonna be terrible? And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be terrible. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Let's make this smooth. Let's make this the best that we can. There we go. That's what I was looking for. A nice line that follows all the way around that I can then come through with my move brush and do an especially nice job of fitting it. Don't cut corners. Spend the extra time on the base mesh. You'll never regret it. It's always worth it. And now I extrude poly loop. We actually get a nice result. What do you know? Oh, don't make me a liar. It's actually not extruding the poly loop I thought it would because it ends right here because it's not a triangle, but it's acting like it's terminating at that point. Not to worry, I can always just mask that manually and get the result that I want. It still is funny though. Oh, interesting. When I grab the top, do I not know what a poly loop is? I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that in my brain for later. When things don't behave the way that I expect them to, at some point I have to think, maybe there's a fundamental lack of understanding on my part. I do think it's a little thick. For now I can just get it on here though. I won't be too picky. Fixing a couple clipping issues that are kind of getting, like, destroying the illusion, and then running over my pinch brush on what I thought was a little too thick, because it's not very hard to fix. All right, coming over to this belt. Everything's getting attention right now. It's not the final detail run, but it's one of them. Extrude a couple loops on here, subdivide. Beautiful. And then finally, this nice coat here, which I'm really looking forward to because it has these little buttons I can put these nice fabric folds on. Excellent. Just like all the other clothes, this has a very, very small trim. I might need to use the top topology here to get this to work. Kind of a funny way to go about it, so let's not do that. All right, we're gonna do it the good old-fashioned way I have been doing and see where that gets us. Extrude the right way. No, no. All right, I'll do it from here. Sweet. I've got a little funny geometry issue. That's why I was suspecting I might need to do it from the front facing. But with some careful move brush action, it behaved just fine. Very good. All right, I kind of abandoned y'all for a little bit. Hindsight says, it doesn't matter because you got it to work, but I think it's because it's trying to force a quad in that corner. Yeah, that is a much more intelligent way to say that instead of I'm just saying, no, no. Poing. Point, not poing. I agree. This model is looking poing. A very poing take. I love it. If y'all, something about that like really tickles my very bland funny bone. So I also like, poing is a word that'd be in peasant speech. You know what I mean? Like that checks out 100%. Though I like when there's new people in the stream, there's something about, I can only imagine someone that's like joining the stream for the first time. There's a lot of nuance and interesting stuff going on here. And then I have my peasants in the chat just saying dumb crap. I love that. I think it's a fun thing to step into and try to figure out what all these inside jokes are about. Speaking of, I am way overdue to break my sign. There we go. Tavern, as it should be. A very poing take. Model's looking very poing. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm gonna start casually saying that. And so for any of our regulars that missed this stream, they can just try to, I'm not gonna tell them why I'm saying that either. That's the beauty of it. All right, this is looking pretty good. We're missing that really lovely knot. And to be honest, I'm not doing it because I don't know how to do it. So now that I've admitted that I don't know how to do it, I'm going to try, right? I think that only seems fair. I think I can do it by manually creating it with the curve strap snap brush and by locking the start point. I don't know. So let's see. Stroke. Y'all know I have no problem trying stuff for the first time on stream. Lock start. Okay, here's my reference. I'm going to try to do that. So I'm going to hide that dagger while I'm at it so it doesn't get in the way. I need to resculpt that anyway. Okay, so we're supposed to start here and it comes straight down. Let's at least make it the right color. Or you know what? It's actually good if it's a different color. The thickness is a little off. There we go. Yep. So that's the starting point. And then it wraps underneath. I don't know if this is going to work. Around here, you can click and drag. Oh, the curve brush is having a meltdown. I knew it would. Okay. I can continue the geometry. Okay, that wasn't terrible, right? I can click and pull it upwards if it doesn't have an absolute meltdown. I'm going to have to manually model this, but this is, fighting the curve brush is also giving me some joy. This is kind of funny. Okay. That's kind of happening. Why is it twisting so much? No. All right, let's keep going. Yep. This is not going to work, but it was fun while it lasted. All right, let's do this in a way that I think might actually work, which is using a single square. A very poing approach. It was. At this point, I don't know. I think I love that so much because it's nonsense. It doesn't really mean anything, and my approach was terrible, but the previous thing was actually quite good. So poing is contextual. It can mean anything you want. It just means poing. All right. That did not work at all. As I knew better than trying to trust the curve brush. All right, I need a single square. Bam. I'm going to try to model this because I'm so good at modeling. For those that think that's a dry sense of humor, I actually am serious. I am not a modeler, I'm a sculptor. Sculpting means like organic forms. Modeling is what I'm doing now, which is like individual vertex moving, and I'm terrible at it because I don't do it very often. So how do you fix that? Well, you do it more. It seems obvious, but nobody likes doing stuff they're bad at. All right, I can go ahead and improve this step by step. by using extrude move, which is really cool. So with my ZBrush brush, I can hover right here and then click extrude, making sure it's on an edge. Move. There we go. So I've created one. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to fix the topology on this because it's going to get bad really fast. I don't know. All right. No. Stop. All right. Something you can do is if you're only doing one action, which is the edge, I can hover over the poly group instead and then click on do nothing. That's why that point, why that's there in the first place. There we go. Okay, you can't not work at all. You gotta do your job. There we go. Haha. I'm doing it. Something I could do to make my life a lot easier is I can just do it in two pieces because we don't need to know what happens behind here. We can just imagine it's doing the right thing. All I need to do is to make sure that this point folds right here. That's all I have to make sure of. So that's step one. And then this other one, can I just duplicate it and be lazy? Probably not. Yeah. Haha. I did it. I modeled a knot. Is it the ugliest knot you ever did see? Maybe, but it's my knot. Excellent. I'm actually, jokes aside, this is a technique that I can continue to get better at, and it's going to work, and that feels really good. Heck yeah. And then I'm going to use the same decoration we have right here on that edge of the belt loop to tie it all together. Even with absolutely no details or thickness on it, it's already reading the way that's supposed to, which tells me I succeeded in the base shape. Good job, me. That's probably a great point to stop this model. So yeah, this was the Tavern Keeper's craft of the day, which is to make this Imperial Sorcerer. It was a patron request from Kyle, and they had this beautiful concept art to go with it. That is not usually the case. You don't have to do that. You can literally just be like, hey Mia, make me a goblin. And I'll be like, do you care if it's a barbarian or what do you want it to do? And you can be like, I don't know, surprise me. And I'll do that. Like, you don't have to have a full fleshed out idea. I'm just happy to have you guys support me, be part of the community on Patreon, so I will do my best. Hey, Vox is here. Hello, hello. Minnie Blaze says, you can't do it good unless you do it bad a few times. This is true. This is true. But, Just Lingual says, I avoid knots by hiding them with buckles and straps. I have no good advice. I was reading that like you were about to drop like some really helpful tips and like, oh, that was not what I was expecting. That was very funny. All right. You can try the Gizmo feature bend curve. That's true. I don't think that would have been the way to do that. Oh goodness, that would have been a great way to do that. Yes, I could have done that. That's how I pose tails. I will try that in the future. I like that. RB Gaming, not visible. It's good. I like it. I like it. Thank you guys. Well, I think it's coming together. I'm very happy with this. We did a lot from scratch today, so I'll need to make sure to come back through here and save an asset of everything I did from scratch. Because doing the same thing every day is for suckers. Make an asset library. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna be going on my break here for about 15 minutes. If you're new here, little context. Hi, my name is Mia, and I make 3D printable minis for a living. Every single model I make is a Patreon request. And today is actually M3DM Monday. That's my business, M3DM. And I released a bunch of models for my patrons. Every single thing that I create, including this little hot fellow, I 3D print myself, and then I share that exact 3D printable file on Patreon. So this picture, that is the printed photo. Pretty snazzy. Of course, other than characters, I also do terrain, This is a really cool one, the coin sword. This really cool Eldritch Foxfolk. And I even did Thor. Every single one of these are just requests from y'all to support me. If you already support me on Patreon, thank you so, so much. If you're on the fence, I have a $3 tier, which is about as cheap as it gets for getting models. And there's even a 1 week free trial. So like, it literally would cost you nothing to swoop in and get like a dozen free models of mine. It's a win-win. If you're interested in that, I have a link in our chat. Click on it. You got no reason not to. I got hundreds of people there that give me money every month, and there's a reason for that. It's because my stuff's pretty good and it's just getting better. I take a lot of pride in putting my best into my work, and every 6 months you can usually see a pretty visible improvement in my work. Recently, I had someone drive me crazy by requesting a war machine. Do you see this? This is not what I do, but it's awesome. It's like modeled after like the Descent into Avernus campaign, and I didn't know I could do this, but I know if someone requests it, I'm going to do my damn best. I'm going to learn how to do it. And I did. So yeah, it's kind of like an upward spiral. If y'all keep asking for challenging crap, and then I rise to the challenge. It's pretty fun. Another cool thing is every single request goes back to everybody in the Patreon community. So you might request something as like your player character, but your player character might end up as someone's big bad evil guy in another campaign. It's just kind of a fun thing. Yeah, don't miss out on all the poing. Yeah, Ricky says it perfectly. It is your day for typos, Hindsight. Beautiful. Hindsight, currently doing the same thing every day. Can confirm. It is for suckers. When I said that, I was like, ooh, that was kind of harsh. So I'm glad you made that funny. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to take a 15-minute break and then come right back. If I have not coerced you to look at my Patreon, because you can join for free and get stuff, I share a free model every single day, too. At the very least, I will try to corral you into my Discord, because y'all know that's free. That's where all the peasants gather. We talk about art, and that's usually where I have creative polls to help design the model on the fly. Again, today is a special one because this commission art is too good not to follow, so that's why I'm following it. All right. I think that's a wrap for right now. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. It's currently 3:30 Eastern Time. I will return by 3:45 Eastern Time. So wherever you are, just at the 45 on the hour. That's when I'll be back. All right. Be good, peasants, while I'm gone. Hello, I'm back. All right, I see you guys are having a good conversation in the chat. Go forth and poing. I like it. I had a very relaxing break. My husband and I finally got our rings in. So we're getting like officially married like on paper on May 14th. But we've been calling each other husband and wife for a long time. We've been together for 11 years as of this August. But we were young and poor for a very long time. But in the last couple of years, the business has really taken off and we are no longer poor. So as a result, I actually have like a ring now that's actually gold and stuff. It's really low profile. I don't want a big rock because I 3D model and stuff. And I don't want to scratch my screen. And if I'm not doing this, I'm riding horses. So it was very, very important to me that I had a band of diamonds and not like a solitaire rock. But anyway, on break, my husband proposed to me again because he's very sweet. So that's what I did the last 10 minutes. Just kind of a sweet thing. Again, we were already married by all intents and purposes. But it's extra official and it's very, very special to actually have a ring that's not a $20 ring from Ross, which is still full of love. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I didn't expect people to like actually afford a gold ring, you know? And we ordered it from this really lovely woman on Etsy, the Rose Castle. I highly recommend it. I'll post pictures later of the actual ring. But yeah, thank you guys. Congratulations. I really appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. Again, we never thought about making it on paper. What did we say? When Ricky and I have been together since we were 16 and we're 28 now. And we were like, oh, we don't need the government in our relationship. Yes, we do. We're looking at buying a house and it is ridiculous to be co-borrowers. I'm like, what are we doing? Let's get actually married. So we're getting the rings and the whole shabam. Really excited. On a funny note, my dad got remarried yesterday. So love is in the air, y'all. Thank you guys so much. Does that make Ricky a mail order groom? You got to hear my infamous ha. That is my ha. Oh, Kyle's here. Pop it back in after a meeting. Model looks incredible. Thank you. I'm so glad you like it. Oh, heart confetti time. No, you're absolutely right. I didn't think about that. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I never thought I'd even share stuff like this on my streams, but I really come to care about you guys. You know, I recognize all your names and you guys share a lot, and I'm happy to tell you stuff that's going on. So, yeah. And Maybe Blaze mentions, yeah, you need that in case one gets into an accident. It's always a good idea. And I realize that if we aren't married on paper too, like something happens and we're in the hospital, like you can't legally visit each other. So yes, we're getting officially married on May 14th. And 14 is because that's the year we got together, 2014. Also because 14 pops up a lot in our life. Like our first truck we bought together was a 2014 Silverado. I'm not sure why, but it keeps coming up. I was born on December 14th. He was born on March 14th. It's just kind of a thing that we do. Thank you guys. Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to get too sappy on it. I'm going to start crying on stream. Not that kind of stream. Okay, on to happy hour. But thank you. All right. So for happy hour, I'm going to be working on his staff, not crying about my renewed engagement. We're going to make this beautiful thing right here. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and scoot him over to the left. He's looking fabulous. I'm so glad that you're happy with him already, Kyle, because he's just going to get better and better. Mini Blaze says, you need to play 14 on the lottery numbers. We do. Meant to be. Hindsight says, indeed, gotta go get the bank involved. You want to do anything. It's true. Bank and government. Alrighty, so I'm going to come up here and open a new tool. And now we're going to create this staff. Okay, love is in the air, but it's also in the way. So let's go ahead and make this staff. The way that we're going to do this is by primitives first. Again, always primary forms, then we build up. Miniblade says, I don't remember you saving. You know, every time you say that, it annoys me. And then I get more annoyed because you're right. I haven't saved in a long time. I'm always like, don't tell me what to do. I got it. And then I'm like, oh, you're right. You're right. Thank you. All right. So we start with our primary form. So this is a pretty easy one. You look at it. What is it? It's a cylinder. So come down here to initialize and then Q cylinder on Y. I'm going to click on P for perspective. So it's going to make this orthographic. That just means there's no distortion of the lens. There we go. And now let's go ahead and stretch this up and Shift F to turn on wireframe. This staff is going to be about as tall as him, which makes my life really easy. We just kind of scoot it over to him and make it a little taller than him. Perfection. Now we bring it back over here and we start adding these most important elements. One of the best things we can do is before we add those top elements, get these other ones situated. So let's see, he's got a little decoration right here. I say he, like the staff. I'm talking about the staff. All right. And then that comes about to his hip. So I can keep coming back to the model and reference it. So right about here, and then we have another one all the way down at the foot. To quickly duplicate this, all I'm doing is hold down Command with the gizmo up, and then click and drag. And then you automatically have a duplicated piece. I kind of butchered that. If I confused you guys, let me know. I'll re-explain it. All right. We're going to do the same thing here. Control, click, drag. That duplicates it. And it's pre-mask, which means I can come over to split points. Bam. Now it's its own subtool. Technically, you can make a model all in the same subtool. The benefit is just organization. All right. Now I'm making this guard right here, which will also have these little cuffs on the top and bottom. Here we go. Here and here. And you kind of just keep doing this until you're happy with all of your pieces. It's a lot of masking and organizing. You don't have to do as many changes as your artistic eye gets better. You can get it correct the first time. Hindsight says, that was offhand comment, but it was true and profound AF. Love is in the air, but love is also in the way. Deep. I wanted to make it like a comment about how witty I am and then immediately drew a blank. So that tells you how witty I am. Miniblade says, oh, edge loops for the knot look on the staff. Ooh, yes, I could, and I can crease them. That is a, yes, yes. All right. I'm going to have X turned on. Click X to have symmetry across the X axis, and also go transform, and then have Z enabled to have symmetry front to back. I frequently forget whether it's Z or Y. It just depends what my orientation is in the scene. I think it's going to be Y. Nope, I was right. It's Z. I also need to add more edge loops to make this functionable. So I'm hold down, click Insert, Edge, Loop. I think I need to insert it from the top without symmetry turned on. Or not edge loop, poly loop. There we go. Still learning. Excellent. Just wanted a little bit more resolution on the front side. So now I turn on symmetry, I can see where in the world is my x-axis. What is the rotation of my scene right now? I'm all, there we go, there's my floor. So you're being silly. I'm having a moment of crisis. It is not behaving the way I'm expecting it to behave. Why are you not moving at all? My move brush isn't functioning, so I'm trying to figure out why. Foxy says, every day is learning day. It really is. RV Gaming says, now I need to say goodbye to y'all. It's 1:20 a.m. here in India, so have a good day. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's always good to see you around. Also from India, how cool. I mentioned that earlier. Like, I know we have people that are international, and That's exactly what I'm talking about. How cool is that? All right, yeah, what the heck? Where is my x-axis? No. It should pull both sides left and right. That's what I'm looking for. If I keep rotating 90, it will happen. What the fuck? Me like, oh look, this is how I do a staff. And then I can't even find out my left from my right. How is it Z? What in the world? Calculating. Okay, I know what happened. It's not important. All right. All is well with the world again. Z is X. For now. Don't worry about it. Oh, that's funny. And by funny, I mean profoundly annoying. But I figured it out. Very good. All right, moving on. We're going to create this top shape up here. And I'm not certain the way that I want to do that because it is actually quite complex. I could make an entire like tube here and then Boolean out the shape. That'd be much more complicated. Better, I think, is to just make one side that weaves and then mirror it. So let's do that. I'm going to click and drag and create this line. We're going to do just one side. It comes out, left, and right. Doesn't look very nice, and that's a-okay. We're going to Z-remesh on half and clean up the topology. I find it very sweet that you guys are all telling RB Gaming goodbye and good night. It's very nice. All right, I'm going to keep on reducing that. And now we will have X turned on. No, Y. How is that still wrong? Oh, my scene is not centered. Oh my goodness, I feel so at peace now. I know what's going on. Very good. We are all situated. I'm gonna go ahead and merge all of these pieces down and unify. There we go. Gosh, I was wondering what in the world was going on. We're also going to mirror and weld across the Y. Here we go. The floor grid EV slider is not set to 0. Wow, I've never seen this error before. This is so cool. Neat. It's not really an error. It's something where my size and my scene got all goofed up. Interesting. And that's my problem right now. All right. Have this base shape coming together quite nicely. I'm going to change my material to a poly skin so it's a little easier to see. Mini Blay says, I'm also learning a bit more each time I open ZBrush. Very good. That's exactly why I'm like, just open it every day. Mini Blay says the Foxy, I first started watching these videos. I understood about 1 word in 10. Now I know a bit more. Very good. Hindsight, this is why I hate ZBrush. Right? I'm like, I've been using this for 6 years. What is going on? It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna just click always yes. I don't know, ZBrush, do what I tell you to. Don't confuse me with what you did. All right, good enough. So X is the front and back, which is really funny. And by really funny, I mean not funny at all. So in case you're wondering, like if you're new, you're like, why is she throwing such a fit? Essentially, we all have conventions of what our X, Y, and Z axis mean. For me in engineering, it's always been like X, Y, Z, okay? That's like your 3 points. You can flip your X and your Y, whatever, but to me, Z has always been up. In ZBrush, I think it's flipped, I think it's Y. It really depends on the 3D program that you're in. For some reason right now, I have my entire scene flipped upside down. However, if I look at the floor, it is oriented correctly. So I don't know why it is flipping my axis. It's not a big deal. I just need to figure out where it was. And we did. So we're fine. It's fine. Back to what we're actually doing. We are constructing this little funny doodad shape on the top. We are currently not even close. All right. It's gonna look kind of like this. And then I can even make my life a little easier by creasing these top lines. And then, oh, that's interesting. So I can kind of see that it's twisting. Don't love that, but it's not a big deal. Pulling a point there and really just grabbing it and moving it around until it is the dimensions that I like. Let's see how off or not off we are. Where is it? There it is. So yeah, it's a little wide, but you can see maybe not as far off as you thought. And now I can work on it in symmetry. It's just important that I move this up first. It looks pretty wonky, but it's a really cool shape and it's coming together. There we are. Now I can grab my move topological, turn on symmetry, whatever axis that it's at. It's currently on Z. Normally this would be X. But we will turn on X as well. There we go. And now I can fine tune the shape. It's a very heathen way that I did this. Not proper is what I'm trying to say. But it worked. So we're good. All right, this bottom section is much smaller than the top. That's the main thing that's inaccurate here. Other than that, pretty good. I can put it behind my viewport and turn on transparency and just line it up, but this is like good for me for some practice. Hindsight says, see Mia, if you ever have anyone say, don't you want to know what it feels like to be a mom? Just tell them, no, I have peasants in ZBrush. It's close enough. I like that answer for a variety of reasons. I really do. Miniblaze says, heathen works sometimes, right? Foxy, the heathen way has led to an organic shape. You guys are supporting my absolute terrible construction. Nowhere else in my day-to-day do I have so many like excuses to use the word heathen and peasants. It's one of my favorite parts about live streaming. Maybe a small band at the joint to show where it joins. Oh, like right here. I kind of like on this one where it's totally seamless. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring this line forward more like that. And that's going to blend. And then same goes for the back side. Y'all are pretty cool here, but I have gotten some pretty unhinged comments about, unsolicited unhinged comments, not online, but from real people and face to face. You guys are real people. Anyway, about not wanting kids. And a common one that I've gotten is like, you'll never know what true love feels like. I'm like, wow, ouch. You can think that, but like, that's an inside thought, honey. If you're new to the streams, funny thing to come in on. I make 3D printable models for a living, but I talk a lot during my streams. And a fun fact about me is that I don't want kids. And an even more fun fact is I don't have some special reason. It's not like, oh, traumatized. We all had a hard childhood. Okay. Or my genetics or some other reason or the world we live in. No, I just don't want them. That's it. That's it. But people have very, very strong feelings about that, which is very funny. I'm like, you want to raise my imaginary kid? Go nuts. But I'm not going to do it. My favorite one that I've gotten, though, is that you'll never know what true love is. And again, what a crazy thing to say to somebody. Like, wow. I'm all about having conversations that are deeper than small talk. We don't have to talk about the weather. Though in my house, talking about the weather was a serious topic because my dad's a meteorologist. Fun fact. So that's always been a valid topic. Minnie Blaze says, what are we? Foxy chimed right in. We're not real people. We're internet people. I love the confidence and the immediateness of that answer. All right, I can stop messing with this shape. It's a little wonky, but it's got character. It's got love. All right, there's going to be another little fun shape. Let's see if I can select it. Yum. Nope, stop it. There we go. Essentially right here, there's going to be this nice little side point All right, what in the world's going on again? Z. Yeah, there we go. I need to increase the resolution, so I clicked subdivide just once, and I can pull off this little wisp here. That's about where it is. All right, let's see how accurate or how not accurate. Just kidding. I don't want to do that when this shape is so wrong. Oh, because it got mirrored. Fun fact, I am super competitive. Just all the time. Okay, I can see all the shapes that are wrong with it now. But it's okay. Let's go ahead and block it and see how close I was. This is good. It's more so I want you guys to know how you can check your work. All right, so you can put something behind your screen, and then at the top here, there's a see-through mode. Click and drag, and then you can kind of line up your little thing. Let's see how close I was. Ooh, I was closer than I expected, actually. Haha, it's way too short. Other than that, not bad. So what I can do is I can merge down all of my pieces, line up the head of it. I do want the top decoration to be a little on the bulky side because it will be 3D printed, but it doesn't need to be this wrong. So I was about 30% off when it comes to the length, which is admittedly pretty wrong. But the actually interesting elements, I was pretty spot on. So I can go ahead and stretch that down. There you go. I'm actually surprised how close that little thing lines up. Totally intentional. Not bad, not bad. It's like a fun game you can play with yourself as you like develop your artistic eye of seeing what is supposed to go where. It is a very difficult game. As an artist, you'll be playing it for the rest of your life. Miniblade says, oh my gosh, it must have been a heck of a time for you every time a storm rolled in. Dad probably told you a lot of horrific things when storms came in. Well, I lived in Hanford, California. That's where I grew up, and there wasn't much weather. So, there was that. Miniblade says, that's a pretty horrible thing to say to someone who's still young and may change their mind later. You never know, so why say it, right? My favorite thing to say to people that say unhinged things are, one, what an odd thing to say, and then don't say anything. Or two, that's an inside thought. That usually gets people every time. As if I don't deal with rude people that often, to be clear. Life is good. Live well and be merry, whatever. All right, we are done with happy hour. Sweet. That means we are officially in last call. This is the wrap up of the stream, and this is where we kind of review all the things we worked on today. It's been a really fun one and a different stream. I got re-engaged. Again, if you missed that, just scroll back like 20 minutes. And then we also worked on this handsome fellow pretty much from, let's move his head, from scratch. Let's get a fun render on him. And then change our scene up just a touch. I'm gonna hide the floor because I never have the floor on. There we are. And I'm also gonna change my ZBrush UI. There we go. Oh, half of it's gone away. Scoot. There we go. I'm trying to get my subtools here. That's where they belong. Beautiful. Foxy says, storms are the best though. I like a good thunderstorm. Well, we get a lot of them out here in Tennessee. You'd love it here. I can't remember where you live. I feel like sometimes you guys share your state, sometimes you don't. All right, I'm actually not remembering what I did first thing on the stream. Odin. I worked on Odin. All right. This is where we left this handsome fellow off. He is all ready to be posed. That's the next step for him. He came out pretty darn cool. So is this video on demand going to be re-engage or Kyle's Mini? It's going to be Kyle's Mini. Like, yeah. It's about the art. I just happened to be here. Odin came out awesome. I'm really excited to see what poses my husband comes up for this. Speaking of, my husband posing models is really a new thing. Yeah. I know, like, my live stream viewers, that's all you guys know, but that's really a new process. All right, and then after this, we went ahead and blocked out that new character from scratch. I have all my quick saves on here, so I can kind of do a 1, 2, 3 of showing it to you guys. But first, I do want to have some screenshots to share as a recap for others. Sweet. All right, so this is one of the early points of our stream today. Very handsome, very simple. Pay close attention to his face. His face went through quite a lot of work. This is where we were at this stage. And then somewhere along the lines, over the next hour or so, we ended up with this handsome fellow. He is coming over here. Come here, gotta change my scene. This handsome fellow. Pretty happy with this. A lot of really good progress. And let's get some nice lighting. Get maybe a couple screenshots going. To change the lighting, I go to Render, Preview AO, and I start playing with the ambient occlusion and the shadows. So Preview Shadow. Adjustments is also a really powerful one. I like to bump up the contrast just until it starts to change visibly, and then I come down to this graph and click and drag so it's much brighter. Pretty nice. Finally, I come over to my light scene. I turn off my secondary light, and I get my primary light positioned somewhere that looks dramatic, and then I soften that up by coming with a warm secondary light. And there you go. Get a few more stamps in here. This guy's gonna be really cool when he's all finished. Already looking pretty good. All right, the stream is wrapping up, so if you have any questions for me, now is the time to ask. If not, speak now or forever hold your peace. Alrighty. And then I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a little bit different because it's back to normal, which essentially means we'll be a lot more feedback from you guys. I'm gonna have a posted tonight. Posting, goodness. There's gonna be a thing in the Discord where you can share references from Model Tomorrow. It'll be back to having your guys' input and all that good stuff. I really did miss having you guys part of the process. Thanks for being here. It was a special day. It was funny that there were so more people than usual on this stream because it ended up being a big day for me. So, pretty awesome. All right, I'm gonna have a big screen, partly because my hair came out really good today. Also because I'm mostly just talking with y'all. And I want to show off this Hodak on camera more. I know I've already brought up the Patreon post, but can you guys see how cute he came out? Other than my super high-res face. Stop being high-res. My camera will not focus on anything other than my face. Stupid camera. I'm going to be investing a bit of money back into the stream, including a secondary camera that will be like more top-down, so I can give you guys really high-res shots of my minis, because that's literally my whole business. And my stupid face cam is for faces, apparently. Very good hindsight. Hindsight says I keep a lot of my inside thoughts inside. Very good, as you should. And then a reminder, if you guys haven't, like the stream, subscribe, all that crap. But most importantly, on Patreon, I had a new release today and it came out really, really good. And there's a new freebie. So yes. And then Ricky asked, all right, everyone, where do I take her for dinner? We already had like really delicious chili that I made for lunch. So I don't have like a ton of room for like a super good like steak dinner, but we'll see. Hindsight says, put your hand behind if you can't focus. Yeah, it's because I set the focal length permanently. So when I put my hand behind it, it doesn't work because it won't autofocus. It just keeps trying to grab my face. So it's on me for not putting it on autofocus. To be fair, once on autofocus, it keeps blurring out. So usually that tip would work. Aloha mentioned a top-down camera for mini painting. Oh, that'd be fun. Then you guys can see how terrible I am at mini painting. Wait, are you still eating the chili? No. It's a different chili. We usually, like if I make it, it lasts for like 2 days. We had many other meals besides chili, I promise. I know I talk about it a lot. We've had it once a week for the last 3 weeks, which is funny. But yes. Hey, I make a mean chili, okay? All right, I'm not saying any other big questions, just people judging my chili habits and talking about dinner. So I think that's a wrap. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. I seriously love what I do, and today's stream was like almost 20 people the whole time. That's huge. That's crazy. My average is closer to 10, so that's literally like a 100% increase. If you are a new lurker or a longtime lurker or a chatty Cathy, I appreciate you all for being here. I really do. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. You take care, okay? Bye.